I missed how that happened, by the way. That was gross. It's nail pasta. That's why it's gross to me, because you basically just explained how it's just hair pasta, and I'm fucked up about it. Or hair's nail pasta. There we go. Oh, hell yeah! This is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure hat, and it's not. So I got this. I got this hat at Youmacon like 3 years ago, but this is actually like my third copy of it. It got all old and beat up and shit, so I had to buy another one off of eBay, and then I lost that one, so I had to buy another one off of eBay. Because I'm very attached to it. As my hero. Should talk about the manga instead. It's a lot better. They didn't ruin it. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Did you watch the first 2 seasons and then quit? Oh really? I'm not caught up. Oh.
One Piece?
Yeah, One Piece utilizes every asset. Stuff you forget about comes back randomly. And then you got to go back like chapters on chapters, 100 episodes back, just to see the reference.
Big L. He's supposed to be the most powerful. And he took a huge L for no reason.
He took a huge L.
Who?
Speaking of One Piece, we're talking about the polyamory. How many people here got 2 piece like Drazi do?
I got no piece. No piece.
We will argue this.
Really? Nobody else go and marry?
I don't want to spoil this.
Yeah, let's go ahead and start.
Let's
get started with the marriage topic. So I'm going to go ahead and give everybody an intro. I'm going to say thank you all for being here at the Minds of Ecclesia, especially Azzy here for the first time in Tuna Chip. Let's start with Azzy. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
How's everybody? How's the audience tonight? Thank you, Waterkai, for allowing me on your platform. My name is Azariah, aka Azzy Ohm, from the Calm Kingdom YouTube and TikTok. You can find me on all those platforms, including Instagram and Twitter. But those are more like jokes. I like showing my humor on those platforms. And shout out to everybody who's here, especially to Father Prime, where we all have started, where Jesus has laid his hand on him and said,
"Oh no, you want to press charges?
We're gonna build something from you," and everything. And then Twitch poll has expanded universes. And you can follow that on by paying your monthly subscription to the Prime Kai's network. You can follow the universe from there, canon and make believe.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for that, Azzy and Azzy's beard. Next, coming up to Elder Drazi.
Hi, I'm Elder Drazi, and I just wanted to clarify that wasn't Jesus, that was me. You just caught it from the profile, and it was consensual. He said it was okay. I don't know, you didn't really introduce the topic, right?
Not yet.
Okay. I'm really excited to be here. I'm really happy to see my boy Tuna. I'm always happy to be on a panel with him. And I think that like Tiberius and I have like sort of like tried to link up and missed like 3 times, so that's pretty cool. I'm really glad to get invited since I couldn't make it last time. I felt like a piece of shit. Ozzy, I don't really know who you are. But
We're gonna find out tonight.
And Prime.
We argued together one time on a what is it, Chud Logic issue. We were talking about it was like Destiny and redacted issues.
Redacted. I like that.
Okay. Well, you said we argued together or against each other.
Remember your face. I remember faces.
Gotcha. Well, cool. And Prime, I was supposed to do stuff with you a couple times. We tried to link up and missed too. So it's really cool to I hope you're against me in this because I'd really like to argue with you. You're a good
I would too.
rhetorician. Is that the right word? I don't know. Go to somebody else. I'm done.
Excellent. And on to progenitor Prime Kai.
Oh man, there's so many kind words from people. Thanks so much, honestly, all of you. That makes me feel really nice. And yeah, rhetorician is a word, so there you go. And I'm gonna use my intro to be shocked. Azzy, is your name Azariah? Because if that's the case, you've never said that to me.
Oh yeah, I've told no one, but yeah. That's my middle name.
It's the first time you heard it here, folks.
First time, make breaking news. Sub to the channel. All right, well, I learned something about my man Azzy. Fair enough. Yeah, my name is Prime Kai. Do a thing similar to this on different days. Oftentimes, our friend Waterkai is there with us, having a lot of fun. And Azzy and pretty much all these guys. So, yeah, thanks so much.
And with a name like Azariah, you have to be Christian. You don't really get a choice in the matter. It just is the way it's going to go by default. I do not fault him.
The Lord helps. That's what it means. It was just by default.
You can be Jewish, though, right?
And my name's not touched by white people, bro. It's not Anglican, so I'm good. When I look at all my Koreans and black people who changed their name and their parents gave them white names, I'm like, you could have just went Hebrew, bro.
That's what Ty does. That's what he doesn't really tell you what his profession is, but he corrupts black baby names. That's his whole thing.
That's occupation.
Yeah, that's the thing. Apparently, Azzy's parents managed to fend him off with a stick.
Yeah, Aramaic names. That's where you go, man.
Oh, that is great. And for the first time here, Tuna Chip. And my first time meeting him as well.
Yeah, what's going on? I'm mostly just familiar with what from my perspective, bottom 3 here, not in quality. I got Drazi, Prime, and Tiberius in my bottom belt, but 2 of y'all are unfamiliar to me. I'm just a fucking Twitch streamer. I do a little bit of politics shit, a bit of fucking philosophy shit. Mostly memes as of late, though, because let's be honest, there's not much important going on ever. So that's it.
It's all as important as we want to make it. Thank you for that. And to Tiberius, how are you doing, my dude?
I have been better. All right. So my name is Tiberius D, but I'm going to have to rename myself to Tiberius L because I have been taking all the fucking L's. All right. So 3 weeks ago is I was nursing an infected tooth over here, which I had to get root canaled while on the stream. Right. So that was 3 weeks ago. A week ago, I had to take off of this panel, suddenly and abruptly because I had to get my appendix ripped out. Right? So that's, just great times had all around. And now we finally get to today where I have been fired. So this is just absolutely going oh so well. I'm taking all the L's. And this is why you need to sub and support Tiberius D, because I take the L's so you don't have to. It's good to be here.
Wow. So you are no longer corrupting black baby names?
Exactly.
For fun and profit?
Joe Biden got to me, all right? He's finally put it down.
Bastard.
Yeah, my heart goes out to you, buddy.
No, it's all good. Let's have a good chat and make it all worthwhile.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm not sorry, man. This is just a start to new beginnings, man. There's no downside, only up from here. All right.
Well, it was coming a lot quicker than I realized. I'll just put it that way.
I ain't gonna puff it up. I'm gonna tell you that shit fucking sucks, and I'm sorry.
I mean, on a level it does, but like the fact that I don't even know who I pissed off enough to actually get canned,
Yeah.
that's where I'm like, you know what? You did me a favor. You did me a damn favor.
See that?
Last September, I got fired for having COVID. That's why I feel for you so bad. I got COVID. Mr. Grill got booted off of YouTube, and then I got fired. Like it was my worst day at COVID. I got called, found out I got fired because I didn't get my check. And that same day, Mr. Grill got booted off of YouTube. I was like, this is like the worst day ever.
That second one there, I'm cheering for joy over. So you lost me on that one, but
Yeah,
Oh.
well, you know enough
Positive
about me to
things.
know that I would be pretty bummed. Okay. It was a lot of compounding factors.
There's a lot of positivity that we're upset about. Like, I
Mhm.
mean, I just
Nah.
accepted my job offer today. So I'm telling you, like, sometimes
Get it, Azzy.
when one door closes, you just gotta keep hope, and two more will open.
Yeah,
I like that positivity.
I'm very interested to see what happens because I already had somebody call me. It's like, hey, I got somebody I want you to get in touch with. So like, I might have a job tomorrow for all we know. But we'll get there in due time. We have to talk about marriage tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes,
Let's get
we
it.
are. We are talking about marriage on so many, marriage and relationships on so many different fronts. So let's start with topic one, just to get warmed up here. A Republican is outraged after a ban on unmarried couples living together is lifted. So a law that was passed in 1931 that criminalized being unmarried and living together was a $1,000 fine and was very rarely enforced, but was recently removed. A lot of people feel that this was put in place in order to push people to getting married. Is this a good thing? Should we have more of this, or should we have absolutely none of this and we can do what we want? So let's start with Azzy.
Yeah, like any laws that attempt to like enforce the importance of marriage, I think it misses the point. And like anything that like restricts the rights of people is and tries to like scare people or encourage something that's positive often leads to a lot of negative as a lot of like negative products. It's like being in church and people using hellfire to try to make people love, heaven. Like, nah, that's not gonna work out. So, yeah, generally, like, it's very controversial. I'm glad that Michigan is like after don't like almost it took what was it? It's like 90 years to fix a lot of money that they probably took from a lot of unsuspecting individuals. I'm glad they're attempting to change and correct it now.
Excellent. Elder Drazi.
As a native-born Michiganian, I can say that the people that are upset about this are garbage people. Okay, I have lived amongst them. They are full of hate all the way to the brim. I've lived in rural Michigan for a very, very large part of my life. These people are gonna find any reason to be mad. And it's funny because this is like the perfect example. I just had a conversation with a good friend of mine who is very like conservative sympathetic. And the thing I was trying to get across to him is that conservative laws are about restricting other people's liberties. And this is exactly what this is. And he said, well, liberal laws do the same thing. No, I said, mostly liberal laws are trying to repeal the restrictions of liberty that have already been on the books for a long time. It's not that it never happens, but this is the kind of thing, like, any laws that says that you can't do something that's not affecting other people, you can bet your bottom dollar that's going to be a conservative law that was put there because somebody really fucking hates people who aren't like them. So I'm really happy to see this out of here. And is your marriage really special and sacred if you just did it so that you could move in together? I don't think so.
Appreciate that. Prime.
Okay. Yeah. So I want to explore the other side of this. I'll say that from the statistics that I've seen, that traditional marriage is the is like it provides the best outcome. So our friend Waterkai sent us a video of this lawmaker. It didn't seem particularly outraged to me, but fair enough. And he talks about how you know traditional marriage like gives you. Well, he didn't. I'm not sure if he even said traditional. He just said marriage gives you the best outcomes. And so, yeah, like why shouldn't the government encourage people to get married to each other?
Great way to look at it. Tuna chip.
Sure. So I've got this from two different directions. Number one, marriage itself as an officiation, because we're talking about the legal status of being married, is something that has to be done through the state. It's on the books. It costs money in itself. The fact that you don't do it, and that if you live in a certain way, you will be charged money, is a form of extortion. So I think that it's stupid. I think that that's like not really the prevalence of the state. Also, I don't think that the state has anything to do with what we would consider traditional marriage. And this is the second part. Traditional marriage is a marriage that is between two people because they love one another. If we create outside incentives towards becoming married, we're actually tarnishing traditional marriage. We're turning it into a tactical strategic choice that people do for financial reasons. And I think that's dog shit as well.
Another way to look at it. Thank you for that. Tiberius.
Well, this one's going to be interesting. I'm actually agreeing with Prime. Like, oh god, like this just scares me a little bit. No, I'm pretty socially conservative when it comes to marriage. I think marriage is generally a good thing, and it's something you absolutely want to encourage. Some people will say it's hollow. Some people say it's not. I don't really care because it's not about them. It's about the kids. The kids are just generally better off by having a married couple, and raising them up. So yeah, super important. Now the other part of this is that is this the way to go about it? Nah, I think we all are 100% agreement that this is not the way to go about it. And like just getting rid of laws like this is actually absolutely makes our country better because we don't have stupid ass laws in the books. It could be used arbitrarily or asininely. So yeah, I think that's all I got right now.
So
I'm gonna go ahead and open it up.
yeah, Tuna, I don't understand how like a marriage, like traditional marriage is like a property exchange, right? Like I give you I don't know, a goat or something, and you give me your daughter. So like I don't know how like giving tax breaks corrupts traditional marriage. Could you explain that?
We're getting
Yeah,
real
so-
traditional.
It's because you're sort of like a clown gymnast and you're trying to pretend that the word traditional has a single meaning. You're going further deep in, right? Because you're deeply tapping into your caveman brain and saying, oh, traditional? You mean like when I raped a woman with a big fucking stone club? You and me both know that's not what traditional marriage means in a normal conversation. Traditional marriage means traditional based on American values, the ones that the law was set around. So when people say traditional in this sense, they mean a affect based exchange, not some kind of European nonsense, not some fucking bone through the skull riding on a dinosaur, cryptic weird shit. We're not going to the fucking beginning of time. This ain't Flintstones.
Okay, Tuna, already you're making this a lot of fun, so just shout out to you. I'm having a good time already. But Big Bang moment. Yeah, that's where I was going to the Big Bang moment. No, but Tuna, okay, I'm gonna engage with you. Sure, okay, but this idea of marrying for love is new, even within the context of Western societies. So, like, lots of people get married for that financial security, right? Get married to have access to power. Get married for all kinds of reasons. Get married because their parents fucking told them you got to get married, right? That's traditional marriage. This idea so that it has to be a love-based one. Doesn't want so like if you want to define it that way, you want to say that it corrupts a loving marriage. That's fine. I won't harp on the word traditional the entire time, but like this idea that it's just one thing. It's not just one thing.
Wait, is that the kind of marriage you're trying to defend? Is these traditional ones?
You're the one that invoked the idea that it has been proven that traditional marriages are good for children, right?
Well, sure, no. So what I said was going to the video that Waterkai sent us. the guy talked about like how marriage is the best, and I said I'm not sure if he said traditional or not because I don't remember. But in any case, marriages provide the best outcome. Now I'm not going to say that that doesn't include like gay marriages or anything like that. So gay marriages are fine or whatever. But having marriages, children within the context of marriages, like gives them the best shot. Doesn't guarantee anything, of course, but it gives them the best shot.
I don't know, Kai. I don't know. It doesn't seem very traditional. I'm not able to trade a cow for somebody's son. That's not really a traditional marriage, is it? I'm not really the thing. You know what? If you want to go back to pederasty, then sure, maybe that's what you want. But that was considered sort of a traditional form of pedophilia. That seems a little. We're talking
if
about.
we want to get semantical, it's gonna be like if you're gonna get into semantics of like what tradition means and then what affection means, I don't even think there's merit in that because then now we have to define affections and then we have to define love and then we have to define the tradition and all it's going to do is just further divide and it's going to be this infinite regression and infinite reduction and we're never going to come to a satisfactory. So we have to define what do we mean by marriage for each of us. So you talked about affection marriage. So what do you mean by affection marriage?
Well, I said affect, a little bit different. I'm not talking about affection.
What do you mean by affect?
What I mean is like you are getting married because you believe that getting married will make you feel good. Because you believe that being married to this person, living with them, doing all of these different traditions, it is a direct extension of your desire towards them. By dating them, you're like, you know what? I'm already living with you, or I already want to live with you. I already want to do. I already know that our fucking goals in life are coherent with one another. We might as well have it on the books because we're getting some fucking tax breaks from it. But if you're doing it for only the tax break, you've gotten into a new level. You've gotten into a new era.
Nobody seems to be pointing this out. I think if we're gonna talk about traditional marriage, I think we just need to clarify and say that we're absolutely talking about cis hetero marriage only. That's the only thing traditional marriage means.
Starting around 1850 in the United States and some other Western nations, the Industrial Revolution increased efficiency through enough that more people could meet those low-level needs without being married. For the first time ever, personal fulfillment became a primary goal of marriage, which jumped up to the love and belonging level. Spouses went from workmates to soulmates. All right, it's a newer thing within society, right? Like that was my only point there. But in any
so it sounds like you're saying
so like, if you want to talk about like love marriages, okay, great. But anyway, like the point is like why does and that wasn't even the heart of my objection. My objection was you saying that like the government involvement or tax breaks or somehow corrupt even the romantic marriages. Explain.
Okay, number one, if you and I not you and I, because that wouldn't be very traditional now, would it, Prime? If me and a woman with a vagina and a beating heart, and preferably of the proper age to bear fruitful heirs for my gigantic blood cult. If I decide, you know what, the two of us, we love each other. Let's go ahead and get married. And then the state is like, well, hold on. I know that you went to this church and you said, I love you, you love me, we're a big fucking happy family, there's a pink dinosaur and everything. You're not actually married unless you get this paperwork done. Because that's the thing. We're talking about a law. It's not just like, are we married in the eyes of God? It's, are we married in the eyes of the state? The idea that the state is more important than God is not traditional marriage. That sullies it right there.
Well, it's that the state is God here.
So are you making the case that then marriage should be handled strictly by the church or some other religious organization?
I personally think that marriage is exclusively an extra legal affair. No laws about it. It's separation of church and state requires, in my opinion, that marriage not ever be touched by law.
What if
let's
you
not
don't
get
have
crazy.
Religion? What if you don't have religion?
I'm getting crazy.
What if you don't have religion?
Yeah.
Or he said extra legal, so it doesn't just have to be religious. He was very
It doesn't
careful about
just
that.
be
I know
religious.
that.
It doesn't have to be religious. Okay. Yeah. I disagree, but like I'll let other people go before I jump in.
Well, I think
Yeah,
that
because go ahead.
okay. I think that the legal part is pretty helpful. There's certain protections for people's spouses, like your spouse can't be called to testify against you in court. I think that's pretty important. There's also things like being able to like cover my wife under my health insurance and things like that. But I think that the most important part that we're missing on is you got fat goofy guys like me who have married much prettier people than themselves, and if she wants to leave me, she got to go through the court. We got to fight, baby. She got to think about that shit. She got to weigh them options. And for fat, goofy-looking guys like me, we really appreciate that extra layer of protection there. It gives you a little bit of a chance to, like, joke side. It gives people a little bit of a chance to work things out before they just decide to dip. And I do think that the more modern things get, that is a plus side. That there is a bit of a process that goes through actually splitting up, and I think that there is some value to that, even though I will admit that it is inherently some kind of extortative properties there. But I do
Does
think
anyone
that
find it weird that Drazi, the very first advantage for marriage you brought up was you can't be they can't testify against you? It feels like I should launch an investigation against you.
that's probably the best legal protection, like legal thing that's provided.
Okay, fair enough.
But for
Hey.
for fat people, man. That's
You're going for my throat.
What about skinny people, man?
A really good point was made about marrying
Skinny
for,
people
like,
don't need help.
insurances. So they even had a whole movie, which is like not aging very well, but I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry, where they tried to get married or fool people into believing that they were gay just to retain their health insurance. Is this a good reason to be doing this?
No. But it's just the way people use to to protect themselves or traffic themselves and exploit the system in order to get I've come to this term of trafficking yourself very recently after like thinking about it. So people will traffic themselves and exploit the system in order to get benefits that they should probably get anyway if the system was working properly and working to the I'm looking for another word. For the lack of a better word, I'm just gonna say.
No, Azzy, I'm with you here. You're hitting. You're on target. Like like the situation that Waterkai just pointed out. That should be handled by other parts of the state clearly. And that you should have like Medicare for all. That should provide you with your health care, and that shouldn't be a reason why you stay within the context of marriage. We have all kinds of examples like this where people stay and for that reason, but that's not a shot against having those protections, right? So like I would rather a person have the option of getting that healthcare within the context of a marriage than not having that healthcare at all, right? Within our country, because I'm other than states. So I disagree wholeheartedly with Tuna saying that it has to be entirely extra legal. I think that a government's job is to encourage. One of the things it should do, it should encourage good behavior from its people, right? And it should make taking the a good option like the best option, right? Meaning that rather than like, hey, rather than committing crime, the best option would be to get a job, right? And here's all the benefits when you follow all the rules. Like, very simple example. Like we should, as a society, encourage people to do good things and discourage bad things.
Prime, did you?
I just wanted to, because I didn't really fulfill my whole point. I mean, like, politics policy should be made in reference and reverence to culture. Culture always comes before politics. Policy should never be put in place to try to inform culture. There should always be a culture. Whenever we think of borders, if the borders are in place to protect the people inside, policies are in place to protect the culture, and to make sure people know what we value.
You're saying policy
Um,
shouldn't inform culture? Like
I don't think policies should inform culture because then
it,
we
it
get
absolutely
these.
should. It
Well, this
absolutely
is
has. What about
yeah,
civil
but
rights?
let me land first because you can fight me on this. Because then we get rules like this, Michigan like a cohabitation law, like an unmarriage law, common marriage laws of 1931 that fine people $1,000 that they could possibly use to get married later on. So it's like it's trying to protect something by harming individuals who are trying to get to a pathway of marriage if possible. Because we know this, that not everybody goes through you can not everybody has a straight stick to draw a straight line. Some people use a crooked stick to draw a straight line, and people can get to the same result through other means. There isn't just there's not just like one way to get married. That's like he said, like that's what he said. There's extra legal marriage. Excuse me. That you don't have to just go to church or have religion to get married.
We
Though
should
me personally, I advocate for a religious marriage, Christian marriage preferred.
we should absolutely use policy to encourage culture. Absolutely, of course. When it's like to protect the like a marginalized group. Sometimes it takes culture a while to catch up, right? Like that's we elect our officials to some of us elect our officials to like foresee these things, to use like their wisdom to make some decisions that would not be popular within the context of a majority. So even if it was not necessarily popular within this country at certain points in times to give people with brown skin access to voting rights, right? Like our elected officials should move past that and then encourage that through policy, right? Like
But what you just
and
said is, but what
go
you
ahead.
just said is that there was an aspect of culture that already existed that was unpopular, and that we put a policy in place to advocate for that minority opinion, that minority culture, that the majority is against.
So you're saying because the minority culture was there, then that legitimizes the policy?
Well, yeah, because think of affirmative action, think of Loving versus Virginia, which advocated for interracial marriage, and
Okay,
was
I'm
yeah.
looking at it the other way around. I was assuming when you said culture, you meant like the dominant culture. But if you meant like subcultures as well, then okay, fine.
Well, yeah, because I don't want people to be punished for acting against culture, right? Because they are just another, it's like saying there's a
That's how
difference
culture
between
works.
we're gonna reward you $1,000. It's like a difference between having a law in place that gives a grant to people who get married or a tax break for people who get married versus we're going to take $1,000 away from you because you're not married. There's a difference.
What does
Sure.
culture
And
mean to you then? Like, culture works, informs by people punishing each other for not cooperating and doing what other people want them to. That's what happens. That's like you give a clash of cultures. Whichever one ends up winning out ends up becoming the dominant culture. That's like the difference between like culture and like state values is that at like a societal level, if you're doing shit that most people don't like, we're gonna do our best to like fuck you over until you conform to what we want.
I mean, well, then I'll just advocate towards a new. I believe in like new covenant culture, what gives people grace and shows people love when they break stuff. Because if we're gonna go back to this other type of culture where we kill people and imprison them for doing the bad thing and the wrong thing, then you're gonna have a lot of people who get caught up in the system. You're basically advocating for the system we already have.
I'm not
You're
advocating.
saying,
I'm describing what it is.
well, yeah, you're basically saying the system you're saying because of, well, yeah, you're saying this current contemporary system we have is sufficient culture. I'm saying it's insufficient.
No. I'm just saying this is what I think culture is. That's it. I'm just saying that's what I think
So you're
culture
like
saying
Tuna
that
Chip
is.
this
has
is the
something to
only way
say.
we can. So
No,
you're
no.
saying this is the only way we can live.
Tuna
No,
Chip
he's not
wants
saying
to
that.
add something.
You're missing a clear thing here. He's saying that is what it always is. It's a structural, like, key component. That's what politics is. Politics is the connective tissue between the two. Here, 1 second.
Well, this is why I say politics is insufficient. Then, now, politics isn't culture. Politics is just the after effect, the child of culture.
I don't think it is though.
Yeah,
Those I don't think. I
think the contention. Oh, sorry.
No, you go
people
first. Go ahead.
moved, if I remember the founding fathers, they moved from one place who they didn't like the culture and they didn't like the policies.
I don't know if this is worth arguing about.
they
Like,
came together.
like.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not.
let's
I'm
redirect
not
this.
advocating for this
Yeah.
at all.
Back to marriage.
I'm just
Yeah.
making a
Can I-
descriptive claim saying that this is what I think it is, not that we should do it or we should endorse it or this is good. I think that it's pretty garbage, to be honest. I'm just saying, like, that's how culture functions. That's what, like, I'm making a tautological statement about it, not that we should do it.
Okay, I wanna get on some stuff with you, Prime. Here, you said a couple of things that I think are stupid and weird. Number one, the idea that culture should be influenced by the state. The state is influenced by culture. That's just what it is. That's what democracy is. I don't think that you seem to like democracy. You don't seem to like the idea that the will of the people should be exercised by the state, but instead there should be some kind of vanguard putting their values onto the people. I think that anybody that tries to do that should probably be should wake up in the casket. The whole point of the state is to be a binding, mutual like argument that all of the people's will then be able to like find the best way to cohabitate, not something that forces some supreme better will onto the lowly wrong people. We're trying
people like cancer. Right. Yeah.
It's metastic for fucking sure. And then the second part is that this idea of like a forced like acceleration of culture in the positive direction. Let's even say that people want the culture to be a certain way, but everybody, due to some kind of tragedy of the commons, it just simply isn't that way. It's in everybody's best interest and they all agree on word, but when they're acting, they act different. I still don't think that you should be accelerating culture using the state for a couple of key reasons. Number one being that you create laws like this that then can be used in a different way. I'm your landlord, Prime. You're poor. You've had your girlfriend over for a couple of days, and then I'm calling the state saying, "Hey, really quick, can you evict this guy? Yeah, well, he's not going to be able to afford next month's rent because you got to charge him $1,000 because he's got his girlfriend sleeping in his motherfucking bed." These laws are gamed by people that can try and game them. The fewer laws that there are that can be gamed, the less unnecessary, weird opportunities there are to be gamed like that, the better.
Go ahead.
Okay, so yeah. Tuna, if the dominant culture wants to exterminate a minority group, should the state assist?
The state will assist.
No, that's not what I asked you. Don't try to be slippery here. Should the state assist if the dominant culture wants to exterminate a minority group?
It's their job.
It's the no. So you're saying that no. I want to be very clear. You're saying that should be the case. They should help the exterminate a minority group because the dominant culture wants to, right? That's your opinion there.
Hey, ethically, I disagree with it as an individual, but it's their job to exercise the will of people.
So if you were setting up a government, right? You were setting up a government, and then like you of course you're not the type to like exterminate people. Not you. You're a good guy, right? But your constituents come to you and they say, "Hey, right? We got some people. We got people that look like Ty, right? We can't stand people that look like Ty, and we want to get rid of all people that look like Ty." And you're like, "Well, it's my job. I'm going to assist you in exterminating people that look like Ty." You're going to do that.
I like this argument.
I mean,
that offends me.
Sorry, but we're living in the post-Jacobian reality at that point, right? That's my job. No, of course.
He's like pro. Okay, go ahead.
In the state, I would not be a member of the fucking state.
Don't try to be slippery and slip out of this. Okay, no, I'll do this. If you want to do this with me, then I'll do this with you. No, if I set up the hypothetical for you, don't try to run away from the hypothetical. It's really fucking simple. You have set up this government. Your constituents come to you. They're like, "We want to do a war crime." We want to do a crime against humanity, and you're like, well, I guess it's my job to assist you. Is that your position?
No, you want me to give the number one? I don't think that anybody's ever going to be able to do a genocide without everybody being pretty upset about it.
Answer the question. Keep dodging it. Answer the question. Yes or no?
I don't think legitimate states can ever fucking perform a genocide because I think a genocide.
Whatever. I don't care about that. Answer the question. You're running away. Answer the question. Yes or no? Can you do it? Should you do it? Will you do it? You set up this government. Will you assist them in an extermination campaign? Yes or no?
I wouldn't have that fucking job, Prime.
Oh yeah. You keep dodging. Look at this dude dodging. That's not the question. The question is not whether. Tuna, the question is not whether the question is not whether you will take that job. That is not the question. In case you don't understand, the question: you have the job. You're there. That's the hypothetical. Yes, it's you. I said it already.
Is it me? This is the thing, Prime.
Within the hypothetical, yes, it's that version of you within the hypothetical. Obviously, in real life, you haven't set up a government. Do you not understand how hypothetical works?
Is it me or is it somebody else? Right?
It's a hypothetical you. You don't know. I get it. You don't. I put you in a corner. And you cannot answer the question. It's a very simple question. But like, hey, governments, you're saying governments should just do what the people say. In all cases, no matter what that is, right? And I put a very simple hypothetical, and you're running scared. I understand that. You can't answer yes or no. That's okay.
Just out of curiosity, could a government survive if they didn't do what everybody wanted?
He's a coward.
Let Tuna answer. You have full.
He won't answer.
Range to answer right now.
You just don't. You don't. Okay.
Complete your answer.
Unless it's the answer that you're expecting. That's the thing. You've decided that it's not an answer until I get the thing because you're a fucking power-hungry freak. Listen to me very clearly. If I'm in that situation, I am putting a gun in my mouth and ending my life because I am not fucking going to do that. I am hanging from a rope. I am doing. You want to know what you want?
You're such a bitch. You're such a bitch. You're such a bitch. Yeah, you cannot answer, dude. You literally cannot answer this. It's a simple question. You are in charge of the government. You are in charge of the government. It's your government. And I'm asking you, what does your government do? You're saying that it's responsibility of the government to do anything that the people say. Right? So that means your government, if it's working properly. Okay, I know you're such a bitch about it and you can't answer it yourself. All right. No, hold on. No, Azzy, hold on. Excuse me, Azzy, hold on. I'm gonna finish this. I know, no.
Let's get through this real quick. Let's get through this.
I understand. You're too much of a bitch to answer this question. Okay, I'll take you away from it. I'll step back. You set up the government, but then you left the government. Okay, all right. You left. You're not there. Okay, all right. So you're all right. You're emotionally protected. You stepped away. It's someone else is running the government. You're someone. I get it. I just said that. I literally just said that. I literally just said that. So once again, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Don't worry. I'm gonna keep doing this. I can keep doing this. I'm too good at this. You can't knock me off my game. You cannot knock me off my game. It's not gonna happen. So once again, Azzy, shut up. Hold on. So Tuna. You're not in charge of the government anymore, but you set up that government. Would your government that you set up, you're not running, would it be working properly if it helped with that extermination campaign?
An authoritarian government's job is to do the will of the people, and a democratic one, yeah, that's their job. I would never do that because I'm anti-authoritarian. I don't believe in states, period. You were asking a two-part question, right? Would I do it? And would that be what that state is designed to do? The first one, I wouldn't do it. The second one, that's exactly what that state is designed to do. That's why I'm against
the one that you set up. The one that you set up is designed to do that. Okay, good. Fine. I got something out of you. God, wow. I mean,
he said that the first time.
No, he did not. He said that. No. Azzy, stop trying to rescue him. Stop trying to rescue him. He did not say that. No, he said like I wouldn't be part of the government. That's all he said was I wouldn't be part of the government. Nice try. No, we're not good.
Can I ask you a question, Prime?
Bitch. No, he was. Yeah, he was being. Excuse me. He was being a bitch. I called him out on it. No, we're not good.
I know.
No, Azzy. No, excuse me, Azzy. Azzy, he did not say that. Don't try to rescue him. Don't try. Look, we got the bod. Don't try it with me. Don't try with me. Elder, you're gonna ask me a question.
Yeah, I just
Somebody gave Prime his Red Bull tonight. Holy shit! I came in to see.
Prime is red pilled on you.
Did
Bring 'em back,
somebody
he's red pilled
like?
on them.
Did somebody sub out Prime for Fnatic? Like, is that what happened here? Like, I haven't seen this fire. I haven't seen this fire from Prime for such a long while. It's like, did somebody cut?
I don't
loose?
like bitch behavior.
That's
I don't
why
like
we
that.
need to get
It
him on
bothers
these
me. I'm
panels.
sorry.
It's that toxic
Alright.
It
masculinity
triggers me.
that I thought Prime was
Bitch-
against. I don't know where
Bitch
you
behavior.
got that from, man.
Bitch
It's that
behavior
toxic masculinity,
bothers the
man.
shit out of me. Elder, if you're still there, you want to ask me that question?
Nah,
You
yeah,
just stepped away
I
for
do,
a
I do,
moment.
I do.
Oh, wait, no, here he is, here he
I
is.
just wanted to match your energy, so I figured I'd get a little juiced up myself.
Gracious.
So
Fucking and living on. Keep going.
can a government possibly exist if it is not meeting the desires of the dominant culture? So if 90% of the people in the country want to exterminate any particular group of people, and the government says, no, we're not going to do that, I think the particular group of people now becomes the government. And they're going to be the ones that get exterminated, and people that do want to exterminate that group of people are going to take over. And then those people are going to... And then those people are going to be attempted to be exterminated anyways. Because that,
So
if the
question?
dominant group of people... Can a government exist if its desires are at odds with the overall desires of the people that it is supposed to be governing?
Well, I mean, if it's all authoritarian and has enough the power of like enough force, right? Enough military force, enough state force that it can bring to bear, then absolutely it can. Like, sure, of course they can. But I'm going to engage with your question because that's not exactly what you're going for. My purpose here isn't in asking that question isn't about like the legitimacy of that government. It's like, what should an ethical government do, right? It shouldn't simply try to protect itself for the sake of protecting itself. It should, like, the people running it should realize, hey, this is a bad thing to do. We shouldn't do that thing.
So you're saying,
like,
what should a republic do?
What should a republic? Yeah, in a republic, I said this previously. Within the context of a republic, you send people who are learned or who have an idea about policy and all that stuff, right? Like, you send people there to make decisions, and those decisions may not necessarily line up with like the population as a whole. Not at all times. Generally, it should. Right? Generally, it should, but like not at all times. And there's some tough decisions that the dominant culture is not ready for. The dominant culture may not be ready for gay marriage. Does that mean that gay people should be denied marriage? I don't know.
Okay.
No, but functionally, they didn't get it till they were.
Yeah.
No. That's not what happened. Well, that's not exactly what happened, right? No. That's not exactly what happened. The Supreme Court stepped in. Right, it was going in that direction. It was going in a positive direction. But Supreme Court stepped in, and then they gave us marriage. It wasn't through like the democratic processes, right? And some states we had one in terms of votes, like ballot measures. We won, but that didn't. It was a top-down decision that yes, gay marriage should be legal in the United States.
Well,
and that was
the
a good
Supreme
decision.
Court is part of the democratic process, and there's a reason why it didn't happen 25 years sooner.
Hold on. Okay, so all right. Well, then if that's the case, then any decision made by that helps my point. That means any decision made by the government, no matter what part of the government, no matter how that happens, is actually the will of the people. Then,
If it's like any kind of a representative democracy or a republic, then yeah, that would kind of be the case.
not your point.
Otherwise, these people get voted out.
Policy and politics and government is there to protect and facilitate the culture and the will of the people. That's my point that I introduced. That's my
No,
point.
it's not. Oh my God, Azzy, you're getting so confused. Azzy, you're getting confused here. Look, so
you are saying confusing things.
this dude, I get it, Azzy. You're having trouble following me. It's okay.
Yes,
Don't
I
worry, I'm
am.
walking
Help
through
me.
it. Elder said. I'm sorry, Tuna, shut the fuck up. Elder said that like it was a magic. It was
Let him finish. Please let him
Come on,
finish.
Katie
Let him
fans.
cook.
Adults in the room.
yeah. So
Got you
but
right
Elder. Yeah, Elder talked about like, oh well, that's how it happened. It was because of our democratic institutions. Well, we got it, but like the Supreme Court's really the least democratic, one of the least democratic parts of our government, and they handed down a decision. It wasn't that the dominant culture was necessarily ready beforehand. The dominant culture caught up after that policy given to them by the Supreme Court.
Yeah, but the Supreme Court, all those judges are elected to that body, and
They're
that
not
body makes
elected.
a decision.
They are not elected. They are not elected. Do you think the Supreme Court judges are elected? No, they're not
Kinda.
elected. No, Azzy, don't try it. Azzy, are they elected?
A little bit, kinda.
You're not
Are we
elected.
having-
Okay, great. Good.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
how would you describe it, Prime?
Come on. Is the
They're
president elected?
nominated by the president.
Who
Yeah,
is
who is the person who is elected? They're
to make that
officiating.
decision?
No, don't try that. Hold on. Okay, this dude like Tuna who
Yeah, that's an
bitches
issue.
about the
Yeah,
word-
okay, I
he
agree with you,
bitches about
Prime.
the word
I agree.
traditional, right? And then when he goes and tries to stretch the word elected to mean, well, elected means, well, you elect one person, and then that one person makes puts other people in place, and so those people must be by extension be
wait.
elected. That's not how that works.
Aren't
He
those
put-
judges then? Don't they go through a process of being introduced into the body? And if they don't fulfill that process, they're not introduced.
If the judges aren't elected, then the president's
Explain
not
what you mean.
elected. We have delegates that actually elect the president that we vote for. That's what a representative democracy is. We vote for the people that vote for us. Like, that's it happens the same way we
Sorry.
get presidents.
Is everyone having fun yet?
But yeah,
you're
it doesn't matter,
talking
it doesn't
about-
matter, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, because they're not elected. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay,
like the
yeah,
Supreme
you're
Court
right,
judges.
Prime, You're right. You're right.
I am right. You guys don't know how the government
but
works.
you were saying confusing things.
Correct.
About the,
Yeah, okay,
now-
great.
now I wanna let
Great. We've
Kai
established
talk,
that the Supreme
but
Court
I want to
judges
hear
are
what Tuna has to say after Prime gets done.
This is a good
I'm-
marriage conversation.
Yeah, so like my question was, what if this minority of the that the majority wants to exterminate is a militia group that wants to succeed or is in sedition to the country, and
that to me?
they want to kill children and people who get in their way. and
Sorry, is
enslave
that to me?
people. Yeah, that was to you.
Oh, sorry. Could you repeat the question? I apologize. I didn't hear it. Please
You didn't
repeat it.
hear- I'll say it again.
I
What if
apologize.
that minority group, that is a group that wants to leave the country, enslave people, kill people? They're a militia group. They're heavily armed. The majority group wants to get rid of them.
Then the government
this
should not
be-
help with crimes against humanity. Yeah, that's kind
But
of my
what if
point.
that's hurting the government and hurting the culture and hurting the people?
I don't care if it's hurting the government. The government should not help with crimes against humanity. That's my point.
You just said that.
How do you define
You're
crimes against
confused,
humanity?
Azzy, once again.
Bro. That's what I'm saying. You're being confusing, Brian.
Azzy,
'cause
let's-
You are confused,
Hey,
Azzy.
whoa. Prime,
Tuna,
think
talk
about
real quick.
it. If the government has any responsibilities, it has a responsibility to exist, to be there, to do those, to actually fulfill those responsibilities. So anything that a government needs to do to keep itself in power and able to do its responsibilities
and protect
is by
people.
extension a responsibility of it. So if there is a radical group trying to usurp that government, they are going to have to do something about
Why do you
it.
think we want to?
Yeah, that's okay.
January 6th. Why do you?
Hold on,
no,
hold on,
why do you
wait, hold on,
think we
sorry.
wanna- Hold on. Let me.
I don't know
introduce
what you're
this real quick. Real quick. Why do you think we want to arrest everybody at the January 6th raid on the White House? Not
Okay,
the
so
White
I'm
House,
ignoring you.
whatever.
I'm ignoring you. I'm trying to address Tuna. So Tuna, hold on. Like, are you
That's why
saying?
it's so confusing. You're
I'm like,
dealing with
yeah, I know
bullshit.
you're out of the.
What are you talking
Hold on, I'm done with addressing you, Azzy. I'm going to address Tuna. Tuna, could you repeat the thing you said? Please repeat that, please.
Yeah, sorry. So, whatever responsibilities a government has, whatever it takes for them to be able to do those responsibilities, that is also by extension the responsibility of that government, right?
Okay.
It has a sort of meta existential responsibility.
I don't believe that's the case.
Really? Okay,
So-
no. I want to hold you to this, because here's the thing. Let's say that if you're saying that the government ought protect children on the street from being shot in the head by me. I'm running around with a pistol. You're saying, well, the government has to stop Tuna from shooting kids. You're saying that whatever the minimum amount of force, whatever, at least that is also their responsibility. If it takes hitting me with a bulldozer and ripping my spleen in half to stop me from shooting kids, and it will take that much. It will take at least that much. Then you're saying that it's the government's responsibility to do that. You have to, because
No, sorry. No. So,
can't be
oh God,
obligated
let's.
to do something that
Yeah,
you
sure,
can't.
whatever. So that's not my point, though. The reason why I have the disagreement with you is to say that in all cases. So going back to the extermination example, if it is the case that for the government to stay in power, like to do all other great things, it has to using the United States government for example, like finish exterminating the leftover Native Americans. Well, then. Sorry, I guess the United States government falls because it should not use its power to commit a war crime, right? Under your example, it seemed, and maybe I had you wrong, so maybe you can correct me here, but it seems like you're saying that to do all those other great things, right? Like to provide healthcare, to protect the people and all that, right? The rest of the people, then if it just had to exterminate Native Americans, that would be a problem.
No, so
that wouldn't be a problem. Sorry.
No, a big thing for me, so from their perspective, yeah, because they would be having an ends-oriented perspective. That's how governments work. They have ends that they're trying to achieve. Now, that is what they are trying to do. They have things that they are trying to do. They're trying to provide the water, the shelter, the resources, maintain the economy, yada, yada, towards certain standards. That's what governments do. And that means they want to keep themselves in power. And their most peaceful societies are based on doing that with the least amount of force, the least number of people in the population being in the outgroup of that government. But there's always an outgroup, Prime. There's always
I understood. So should the government, if there was some situation where to keep itself in power, the U.S. government had to exterminate the remaining Native Americans, you were saying that is legitimate because it would keep that government in power.
No,
that action is legitimate by extension.
I'm going to answer this in two different ways. Number one, I'm going to answer the actual question, but then I'm also going to open up a greater question about why Prime needs to turn everything into the extermination of either Jews or Native Americans in order to make a heavy weighted question where he's trying to actually do like a meta argument where you can't actually talk about things without it being like enshrouded in some kind of like weird white guilt, right? Or some kind of thing of like, how can you actually say that? How can you actually say that? Well,
white guilt,
I'm also American, and we're talking about white American guilt, and we're talking about the Native Americans there. That's really quite important. Now, what I'm saying is that is what the government would do. Now, I would be part of the group that says, and that's why we need to stop the government. I would be honest.
You're not answering the question because I said should.
What's the question? Repeat the question.
The question was, should the government? He's saying the government would do that. And maybe the government would. I'm saying it should.
Can you answer should now? This is the moral question.
Yeah, if you're asking the moral question.
I'm now wondering this from an institutionalist
I think
point
he
of view.
already essentially answered this with his statement.
I did.
Okay, well then he decided to answer it again. All right, well then fine. You guys should.
I'll repeat myself because Prime has, short-term memory loss. I am.
Don't try me. Don't try me. Don't come for me. Don't come for me.
Here's the thing.
A lot of anime, buddy.
Don't come for me.
You live like a fucking dried potato skin on a buffet. Everybody doesn't want to try you. Now,
I don't know what that means, but okay, I don't know what that is. All right, maybe it's come from his white guilt. I don't know. But yeah, try. Go ahead. You were coming for me, and don't worry, I'll come for you again. Go ahead.
I'm liking it. We'll do the back and forth time. If you're asking my moral system, my ethics system, yeah, they shouldn't, but they're gonna do it.
Great, thank you.
Okay, Leaky was asking it from an Leaky was asking about this from an institutionalist perspective. So from that, I'm guessing he's passing it off to Ty.
Oh, I want to hear Ty say something.
Yeah, it was just a basic question as to like, should the government encourage good things and discourage bad things, right? So we should encourage people, like even if a culture isn't ready for it, we should encourage them to do good things. Like that was the heart of this, right? I can bring
That's
it
what
back.
It should be.
That was the heart of this. It should be exactly. All right.
I was disagreeing with you.
No. But then by your own logic, should people be cohabitating? To bring it back to your original topic, should people be cohabitating and having children out of wedlock with so much risk of divorce, of unhealthy relationships, of not being able to properly distinguish who's going to take over what responsibility in terms of education, finances, what make you make whatever.
Yeah,
whatever,
people
right?
should do what they want. That's fine.
So people should be able to do whatever they want. That's your.
How could we possibly discuss this without getting to the finer points of genocide?
People. No, you're lost. Azzy, you're lost here. Once again.
So hold on. Pause. So reconcile that with people should be able to do whatever they want to, and the government should be able to protect and encourage people to do good things and discourage people to do bad things. Reconcile those.
So it
seems to agree.
Easily, right? So within the context of a free society, people should be able to, well, mostly obviously, do what they want. There's some restrictions, obviously, but they should be able to do what they want.
There's restrictions.
Listen, hold on. I didn't answer the question. I'm literally just about to be done, right? So within the context of free society, people should mostly be allowed to do what they want. That doesn't mean that the government can't give them encouragement. Here's an encouragement: a tax break for marriage, right? Because if marriage gives good outcomes, then give them a tax break, encourage marriage. That's it. You can have both, right? The people don't have to do those things, right? They're not forced to get married. I didn't say that the state should come in and force two people to go through a wedding ceremony. I'm saying that it should encourage it through a whole list of ways. Tax subsidies, through I don't know, grants and like government programs, the whole list of things, right? We can do both of them easy.
He's almost done.
Yeah,
I know I am done. I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah, I got the
Tuna wants
rounding down. 2 more questions, and I'm a go. That we can come and let's keep it to the topic. Esoteric in politics.
Go
ahead.
Make
this a rhetorical conversation this whole time.
That's what I'm trying not to do.
Yeah. 2 questions. Is what I described, that was these individuals, that scenario that I described, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Of course, there's nuance, but I'm asking you, is it good or bad?
For someone to cohabitate?
No, I didn't say that's not my question. I said, is the scenario that I described or the
I'm asking what the scenario was. Is it cohabitation? Is that the scenario?
No, the cohabitation of people who are not married. They have a kid. They're not able to set boundaries. Then there's no responsibilities on finance, no responsibilities on education. They're just cohabitating, taking care of themselves, and doing whatever they want to do. Is that a good or bad scenario? And when I mean good, I mean good as in beneficial, and bad as it is not beneficial. I'm
a little confused. Like you're saying no responsibility in education. Like what does that mean?
As in, if there's no marriage contract or marriage vow, then people are in it for themselves to the one point. It was like this is what I had against Tuna's affect marriage.
What does that have to do with education?
Oh, okay. Now I really want to hear what.
Because now, if they get together, they have sex, and typically from sex you get a child. And there's a lot of, we see in reality, there's unmarried people who are cohabitating, they have children, and now they have to put those children in school unless they don't, But I'm saying they put this child in school. There's no set vow to make sure that these people are going to sacrifice for each other.
I don't know how that has to do with education. I'm a little confused about how
presupposition.
Education. I'm just giving.
Okay, you said education before, and so.
As you said presupposition that a couple that is unmarried.
If education is not part of it, that's fine.
Go ahead, Jakander, because he's going to say my presupposition.
Yeah, why is your presupposition that married couples cannot do things functionally together just because they're non-married?
Because no, they can. It's just that because there's no binding vow or contract between those individuals, that at any point in time, because people can do whatever they want and feel like, somebody could just up and leave just because they feel like it and they want to.
50% of marriages end like that anyways. What's your point?
Oh, well, I'm just asking, is that beneficial, good, or unbeneficial?
If we're back on marriage, can I attempt to bring a little sanity to this conversation by asking a very, very important question? So we keep talking about marriage is supposed to be I just started a big conversation in Wix Discord yesterday about marriage because it seems like a lot of people have this idea about what marriage should or has to be. And I think definitionally, the one thing everybody can agree on it is that it is a committed agreement between two people to stay in a relationship. It does not require there to be children involved. It does not require inherently for the state to be involved. This is an idea about a committed union between two, and in my opinion, potentially more people. It's a commitment to be with each other and to not just take an easy way out if it is available. There are certain incentives that the state does offer. That's just a fact of the matter, whether it should or not. But what if it should be about children? Who the fuck says married people have to have kids? Can we kind of like get a structure of what marriage has to be in order for it to be called marriage? Because it seems like everybody's arguing from this position of what their idea of marriage is, and we haven't even had a conversation about what it must be to be marriage. We haven't even qualified this idea.
I think we defined that already. I think we defined that, or at least we tried.
A couple people did, but there's not really been any consensus
I was going
yet.
off of Tuna's definition, honestly.
Prime, what's your definition of marriage?
For the purpose of conversation, I was going off of Tuna's definition. Was
We're
like
going off of.
which,
So
we
we're
were
going
all
off
under the
Tuna's
definition.
definition.
That's what we're
We
going
may not
off.
all agree with Tuna's definition. I thought you disagreed with his definition.
No, oh, I said like we could talk about that. We want to go on talk about some romantic marriage. That's fine. I'm saying
Right,
I said
y'all not working with me. I tried to go around the room, and you're trying to attack Tuna on his position.
No, that wasn't the position up. Oh my God, Azzy, do you think what we've been arguing for the last hour was that?
Gung-ho on this rhetoric that.
Oh my God, Azzy, do you think that's the thing I was arguing with Tuna this entire time was about romantic marriage, or was I talking about like the advantages of the state?
That's the whole
okay, I don't know because I don't know what you're saying, Azzy. Like you're calling me confusing. I have no idea what you're saying here. Right, okay, so I'm trying to move past this. I'm trying to move past whatever the fuck you're saying, Azzy, and try to engage with the rest of this.
Let's show this out. Go ahead, Tuna.
Prime, I've liked you in every other conversation we've had, and I think it's because you weren't gung-ho on being an alpha talker. You were able to like go back and forth, and we like that. I don't dislike you, Prime. I just got really mad about how you were on this like alpha kick that I think, let's be real, you might be a little too, like when you're in it, you're like, I like it. I like being in it because you're not in it that often. So let's step back a bit. Okay.
Okay. So sure. No, I'm not gonna step back. So like I'm engaging with the conversation. Waterkai asked me to engage with this conversation. I'm engaging with the conversation. So can you all handle that? If not, that's okay. But I'm engaging with the conversation.
But if you're engaging, I just want to know what the marriage that leads from it looks like.
Okay, sure.
And as far as this goes, Azzy, how about we let Lethe decide where it goes instead of you trying to decide around the room where it goes?
Yeah, because that was going to take 20 years. So let's just, if we're going with an established understanding of what marriage is, we've all locked in on that. We're cool with using that for any hypotheticals. The conversation is flowing forward from there. So I wanted to see where Chunichip was going next with after he called out behaviors. What was the point we were getting at?
Sure. So one of the big ones that I had is that I don't think that this idea of an inverted incentive versus a normal incentive, like an incentive versus a disincentive, is as different as you were making it sound for a little bit there, Prime. When you charge somebody $1,000, there's something about that that's really repugnant because they were expecting to have that 1,000 and now they don't have it. It has to do with like your expectations. But when we're really thinking about it, anything that the government allows to some people but doesn't allow to other people because they're not doing something is them withholding something that they could realistically be giving to everybody. The government's not going to create an incentive program that couldn't benefit all people that are capable of doing it, or else it would eventually upend itself. So let's say that I don't get tax breaks that married people do, and that's factual. Then that means that I have something that I could have had that's being taken away. Do you think that's justified?
So hold on. and I'm trying to understand, make sure I understand what you're saying here. You're saying that because you don't necessarily get a benefit, that means it's a loss to you.
Yeah. So what's going on here? The only difference between me and somebody else, the only difference between two situations: somebody that has something and they expect to be able to keep it, and then has it taken away, versus somebody that had something, but then at the end of the year they're expecting to have it taken away in the form of taxation. They're expecting a bigger tax
I'm
hit.
sorry, Drazzy, we can hear you. We're getting a lot of static.
You've turned on your fan or something, and your gate is.
Oh, there's something in the other room. Sorry, my headphones are noise canceling. I didn't even know.
Yeah, no
You
problem.
didn't know.
Appreciate it.
It's on now. No, like taxation is still the removal of money. It's just the removal of money that you expect and we're kind of like socially conditioned to expect. The thing that's insulting about this law is the fact that it doesn't make sense to us. We think that it feels dated. It feels outdated. That's what, like, liberal people at least. We're just like, wait, I can just like lose $1,000 for living with my girlfriend. That's what's insulting. But they're the same thing. An incentive and a disincentive are the same thing.
Okay, so this might have gotten lost in the sauce because I haven't addressed this law in particular. I'm not for this particular law. Like this, I agree with the rest of the room that this particular law is bad. I'm saying that just that it is okay to confer benefits for positive behavior.
That's what I'm going
Yeah.
against right
now. Okay.
Because a benefit that is only given to a positive behavior is being withheld from people that are not doing that positive behavior. It's the same thing. An incentive and a disincentive are just opposite ends of the coin.
I mean, you can look at it.
I'm okay with giving an incentive and not okay with giving a disincentive.
Not okay. I am. I
punishment. If you
I can't be okay with. We'll have to explore this in different examples, but I am okay with the government giving disincentives to bad behavior, and I don't look at it as necessarily a loss that one group gets something for good behavior, that another group doesn't for not doing a good behavior. Like, I mean, I see what your point. I see your basic point where you're trying to say that, like, you still lose out, right? I hear you on that, but that's not how I look at it. I don't think that's the way most people necessarily look at it. Like,
sure. Okay. Can I ask? Because we can make this. We don't need hypotheticals. We can be very literal. I mean, it's one half of this is hypothetical, but it's a very realistic one. Let's say, number one, let me ask you: Are you in favor of the bill that taxes people $1,000 if they cohabitate with a partner that they are not married with? Do you like it, or are you against it?
I'm against it, like I said previously.
Okay. Let's say at the end of the year, me and my girlfriend, who live with one another but are not married, both of us cumulatively are on the tax break that we could have gotten. Let's say we're very affluent, we make a lot of money. We both lose $500 each, $1,000 cumulative from having not gotten married and done that union. We're taking the same net loss as we would have if we got busted with that thing, but it seems like you are maybe more okay with that. I'm asking.
If you both started off with $100,000 in the first law, where you're fined, you'd end up. Well, let's just make it $100, right? If it's $100 and the fine is $1, then in this scenario you'll end up with 99. In this other scenario, you'll end up with 101 if it's a benefit for getting married. So those two things aren't the same, right? They're not equal. Correct?
It's not true. Because the way that it works at the end of the year is that you have a tax debt, right? I don't know, but like I guess a lot of people are used to getting a pay bump. I'm a 1099 worker. I'm used to having to pay the government at the end of the year. So
same here.
I have the 100, and I am being taxed 1, and it will bring me down to the 99. Or I'm being taxed a lot, but the differential, if I were married, let's say, comes down to the same unit that is being taxed in this other way. We're calling that a benefit, But alleviation of how much you will be taxed is not a benefit. It's just being a little bit more generous about the punishment, right? It's the same exact loss of money.
So okay, one way or the other, I've already said that like I disagree with your formulation here, but I'm going to move past that. One or the other, I've said I'm fine with incentives and disincentives. That doesn't mean I'm fine with all incentives and disincentives, right? There is good policy and then there is bad policy. So just because it's a policy, in this case, this particular bill, right? This fine for cohabitation. Just because it's a policy doesn't necessarily mean that I agree with it, right? Just because it is encouraging a good behavior through negativity doesn't mean I'm going to or a disincentive that normally that I'm going to agree with it. I'm sorry, I stumbled all over my words there. Go ahead.
Could you give another example where you'd be okay with the government fining somebody for personal life choices?
For personal,
like who they choose to live with seems to be like a very personal life choice that doesn't affect society at large.
I can, but I don't know if you want me to. When Frank Sinatra went to jail for sleeping with another man's wife, there were laws on the books against adultery.
Yeah, I mean,
just about to bring those up.
Wait, she's the adulterer. Why did he go to jail? She's the one who had the contract.
Broke into their happy marriage, showed his beautiful eyes, sang her a song, and was in those draws.
That's insane. He had no agreement not to fuck this woman. That woman had an agreement not to fuck anybody else. If anybody goes to jail, it should be her.
The law doesn't suck.
Drazi, this is the thing, though. This is what happens when marriage is not between a man or a woman, but between a man, a woman, and the state. Because the state considers the marriage a part of them, and they consider, oh, the texture of the society is being contaminated. You're ruining the social thing by being an adulterer.
That's a valid point, because what he's doing is actually violating the thing that the state had. He's saying that you're saying that the state owns this marriage, and you broke this marriage. They can't as much because this is ours.
I mean, we should have just stoned him. We should have
do we like this?
And stoned him, right, Azzy?
I think that's what Tuna Chip was talking about when he said we should kill people who are.
So,
Jazzy, I never advocated for that. No,
Jazzy,
I was joking.
A life choice as you're defining it in this context. A life choice as you're defining it in this context would be one person choosing to be with another person, right?
Yeah, well, choosing who to live with, at least, yeah.
Well, just choosing who to live with. Oh no, I mean, I don't care about who people live with.
It would be like, should I get punished for driving a red car? That seems as arbitrary to me.
Ooh, this is a great segue to the next topic.
These aren't areas where I would enact policy. No. So in terms of marriage, right? I'm okay with the government providing a disincentive from like an adult marrying a child, right? Like that's fine. Even if those two consensual, those two people are consenting to it. I'm okay.
Children
with
can't consent to that, but
as to sure, whatever. You will understand what I'm trying to go.
I'm a non-Mr. Girl fan. I got to make the distinguishment. Okay, I'm not being pedantic.
Fair.
This is my. I
Fair
have
enough.
to do this.
Fair. That's fair.
People are gonna get me.
Okay.
I didn't catch that.
Okay, sure. But even if whatever, doesn't matter. Like if force isn't being applied within this situation, I'm okay with a disincentive. In that case, yeah, in certain cases I'm fine with disincentives.
Wait, is financial coercion not force?
No.
I just gave you an example.
Wait, what was Elder Drazi saying?
The example again, I missed it.
Disincentives for child
marriage without punitive force.
Without punitive force? Is that what I was being asked for?
Oh, that's new.
That's what you just said. What did you
no, that's not what has he.
Okay, so
what I said.
Can you repeat what you said?
Okay, I will repeat what I said. I said I'm okay with the government. This is exactly what I said. I'm okay with the government providing disincentives for an adult like marrying a child.
Okay.
That's it.
But you said something after that, what gave me pause. You said something else. You said something along the lines of, let me make sure if I'm clear. You can tell me if I was wrong. You said like I'm okay with disincentives as long as they don't have some type of force or punitive action.
No, I didn't say that. I did not say that.
He was saying in cases. Okay, so he's talking about two different cases of the action, the immoral action that the government is responding to. In one, someone's using force. So what you're saying, oh, disincentive is not good enough. We need to actually intervene in those cases. He was saying in those ones that are voluntary but are bad for the people involved, he's okay with the disincentives there. That's what he was saying.
So like a disincentive, like a monetary disincentive, or a
or putting people in jail. I mean, like for marrying a child. Yeah.
If you're
I'm against child marriage, is what I'm saying. That's it. I'm just saying you're against child marriage.
Well, the state can't throw you in jail for marrying a child. They'd be officiating the marriage.
Sure.
We're talking about a bait and switch.
And that's responsibility.
Right. I'm sorry, what? Sorry, what did you say? I didn't hear what you said.
I said it's their job to marry those children to those men. I'm doubling down on it.
That's what happened.
Making a joke. Okay, fair enough.
No, I'm making a joke. No. Okay, no. So we can move it past it, but I just don't think that there's that much different between the stick and the carrot. That was the thing I was trying to get down to. Any incentive is a disincentive in inverse. So the fact that you're admitting that there are some instances where you like disincentive and some where you like incentive, then we're good. That's coherent. I just think that whenever we're talking about like tax, I don't think that tax breaks for married people are that much different than fines for people who are cohabitating that are not married. I'm against both of them. I just think that they're both stupid. I recognize, though, why we're so insulted by this law, though. It's because we expected to keep that 1,000, and it makes no sense to us culturally. I think that's the real reasons it's story. It's spectacular.
Interesting. So do we want to get closings on this and get to the next topic, or is there anything really pressing that we need to nail down before we move on?
All I was gonna say is if they never change the law, they could just move to Illinois because they have domestic partnership laws.
No one wants to move to Illinois.
Based.
I mean, it's just, isn't it close by? See, y'all
Based
y'all don't like solutions, man. Y'all like to argue. Go ahead.
Illinois smells like pigs. So closing statements. Go ahead, Azzy.
Listen, like I said again, the very beginning, you can't incentivize people by using hellfire and judgment, which is an example of this cohabitation law, common marriage law.
Can you tell that to the Westboro Baptist Church?
No, because they don't do policy. That's your government, your local state government.
They help.
Yeah.
About the Baptist government, though.
Did you hear what happened?
What? I have a certain secret about the government and the Baptists, though. Keep going.
Okay. I mean, so like, to just make this quick. This is bad. You should, instead of this, they should change add a grant to people who get married, give them $1,000 like they had the child tax credit who incentivize having kids, because that's going to help the GDP. That's going to help your government. At the end of the day, policy, it shouldn't be used to inform culture. It should be used to encourage and protect culture from people who want to hurt it.
Thank you for that. Cool. Elder Drazi?
I think at the end of the day, I don't support any policies that try to enforce a sort of rigid and traditionally defined definition of what marriage is. I think that this is a way for the government to try to impose a social order onto people that I just think is highly unethical for them to do. I think that marriage is more or less in the eye of the beholder, and for the government to step in and say, hey, we got money if you conform to this traditional Christian idea of what it means to be married, I think that freaks me the fuck out, and that probably is some sort of violation of church and state to some degree, and at the very least, it is creating an unnecessary social divide in the country, which is just the opposite of what the government should be doing, in my opinion. If they have a job, it should be to keep things fucking chill and not cause definitely not cause financial inequality through enforcement of social mechanisms.
Elder Drazi, you were just setting me up for this next topic, aren't you? You just want to just lob it in. I appreciate it.
I'm ready to go Super Saiyan on the next conversation, on the next topic, so.
Feel you.
Prime, keep that energy up for the next one.
Prime's energy is never ending. Understand this.
The government should encourage good things and disincentivize bad things.
Exactly. Based. Tuna chip. Oh, you weren't done?
I'm all done. No, I'm all done. I thought you were waiting for me. I'm like, I'm all done.
No, that was amazing.
The government should exist exclusively as a manager of the economy and a preventer of the one only real destructuring element of a society, which is whether or not people are, forcing things on one another. And it should also not force things on people if it can.
Or you shooting children. Fair enough. Ty.
Yeah, so this one was fun. Thank you for such a riveting conversation. Anyway, getting into my own particular thoughts here. Should basically the state push marriage? And the answer for me is yes. I get some people's ethical qualms about this one to some degree, but they tend to be anarcho-brained, and I just tend to hate that shit of one creek and down to the other. So here's what it is. If you're talking about a society that is even remotely prosperous, healthy, productive, and more particularly has the pride to believe in itself that it's something that should continue, then it absolutely has a vested interest in helping out the next generation in most ways that it can. Now, I'm not saying it has to do everything, but it should, enable that. And the thing that enables that most is actually, having it involved with your marriage license. Because if the state has a vested interest in keeping you and, mom and dad together, or dad and dad, or mom and mom, or whoever the hell it may be, is that we know definitively there's a 7-fold increase in that child being a productive citizen down the road. That's really all it comes down to. Yes, the state should absolutely be involved with marriage.
How dare you be sensible, Ty?
That's what I'm here for.
Why did you not say this
Cut
the
that
whole
out.
time, bro?
Because y'all wouldn't shut the fuck up.
Well, that's why I was arguing. I'm yelling at Prime to stop arguing over this, because then we would have got that. See that?
Yelling
this
does
is what
not
you do.
Stop Prime.
This is
Prime is an unstoppable force. Stop that.
But Ty said my position.
He's the strong nuclear.
Ty at the very start said he agrees with me, and then he reiterated my position. Well, most of my position.
I'm sorry, Prime. I just do it better.
Okay,
Damn it.
Fair enough, Ty. I'll take that.
He had to wait till the end so he knew which side to take.
Yeah, honestly, well, Ty has a certain point. It's not really the marriage that is important; it's incentivizing a couple that is contiguous rather than single parenthood. So the incentivization should really be focused more on keeping the couple together or keeping it within a multi-generational home, because of the fact that is what is beneficial, is the continuity of parentship to the child, as opposed to discontinuity between the parents. Marriage can incentivize this in and of itself, but those are very culturally driven as opposed to governmentally driven. So, honestly, going any further with that incentivization would be violating the church's state, since 90% of marriages today are religious in nature.
Excellent. So, moving on to the next topic. And this should be a fun one. Polyamorous families now have legal protections in this Massachusetts city. Somerville, Massachusetts has become the first city in the United States to extend legal protections against discrimination to people in polyamorous relationships and other non-traditional family structures. Last month, the city council passed the first 3 ordinances defining family or relationship structure as a protected class akin to race, gender, or sexual orientation. Please understand this. The ordinances also extend specific anti-discrimination protections in police interactions and employment. A 4th ordinance is currently under consideration to bar housing discrimination. So, do we think this step going forward is going to be good in the sense of incentivizing different ideas about relationships? Or is this also going to be something that destroys the idea of marriage and the incentivization of being married? And I'm going to start with Ozzy.
I think politically it'll be politically and nationally it'll be good because now you'll just have more people together who are protected, and and this provides a roof and community for children. But I think socially it would have a lot of negative impacts. I believe polyamorous relationships are very hard to maintain, just by nature of the fact that now you have vows between multiple people, and now you have to balance all of that. There's a lot of there could be like jealousy. There could be lack of emotional support. There could be more freedom because you have more people to deal with, but less freedoms because now you have to now adhere to the boundaries of all those people in your household. That's why people, like, typically, even in regular households, kids move out because they want to be able to live freely. But now you have like it's usually just easier with less people. It's easier. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of social stigma that comes from polyamorous relationships. But I don't have any opinion on what they're doing. What you said in Michigan,
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts, excuse me.
Somerville,
I don't
Massachusetts.
because it's new. Well, I don't. We'll see what the result will be. But I'm predicting that most people are not going to get along with it.
Well, that was great, and the galaxy behind you is beautiful. I'm appreciating it, and it's distracting. I like it. Elder Drazi?
It's funny. I really hadn't thought too much about this subject. I think I actually have some notes here. I may.
From Jet. Yeah, I know.
Everything that he just said is total fucking bullshit, okay?
Damn it.
There is absolutely no fucking evidence of anything that he just said whatsoever. None. In fact, to the contrary, including raising children, there seems to be an indication that people that have more than just one partner seem to have better outcomes with children. I don't give a fuck what anybody like Ozzy says or what I've heard the dumb fuck takes like I've heard Sprout give about this in the past. There is no evidence to say that polyamorous families are going to produce any kind of like negative results due to their polyamory. However, there is a negative impact on society when these people are unjustly persecuted by the government, by other institutions like landlords. These things hurt them, in which in effect hurts everybody. I think that there is no justification that you can give as to why polyamorous people shouldn't have the same kinds of protections that non-polyamorous people should have, other than, well, I just like things the way that they are, so fuck everybody else. There's no data to support any kind of harm being done here. But he did bring up a good point. There's stigma, and there shouldn't be. And how do we prevent this? We prevent this by putting in laws. In, I think it was Columbus, a year ago, they passed a law saying that people in triad relationships, they passed a precedent where there was a triad relationship, 3 people all dating each other, and one of them had a kid, and all of the people involved in the relationship got parental rights. This is absolutely amazing. If all 3 people are going to be working together to raise the child, they should all be able to pick that kid up from school. They should all be able to take them to the doctor. These are the kinds of legal protections that need to be in place. Otherwise, you're going to have a family structure where the kid is going to understand that some of their parents are lesser. These are the kinds of protections that need to be there because they're just automatically granted to people who are not polyamorous without any sort of qualifications. You can be a shit dad, and you're still that dad. You're still that kid's dad in every legal fucking sense. It doesn't matter if you beat the shit out of him every day when he walks home from school. So I think that unless somebody's going to make a claim that there's something bad happening here, in which case I'd love to hear it, then there's no excuse to not offer these kinds of protections to polyamorous people. Sorry, that's all that I had there. Sorry, I had a little note.
Sure. Is there another one is there more on the back of the page? Just want to make sure.
No notes, man.
There might be.
Okay, just making sure. We'll save that for later. Tuna Chip, my dude, what's good?
This is going to be pretty obvious considering my previously stated opinions. I just don't think that there should be any laws against or any lack of basically, if any protections are afforded to people based on their lifestyle choices, whether it be religious or sexual identity, then this needs to be categorized inside of it. Because otherwise we're taking people, we're making it so that they're able to live in a certain way, or else it's illegal to discriminate against them. And if we're working under a context where that's not okay, then it's not okay. In general, my position would be that free association solves all of this to begin with, and we should get rid of all of those protections in favor of creating just like the ability to work and live such that we're all equals. But until we have the conditions where that's safe to do, we're pretty much forced to just keep adding people to the protected list. It's just what we have right now.
Excellent. And may I say, you throw a solid right straight. Ty.
Thank you.
Yeah. So first part, and then I'll get to the second. Is I'm not 100% sure how this technically works. I need Lactoid to come translate legal bullshit into something I can
not
understand.
here, not ever.
So anyway, last month the city council passed the first of 3 ordinance defining family or relationship structure as protected class. What the fuck does that mean? Can somebody translate this into like common person for me?
Read it again.
Okay, so last month the city council passed the first of 3 ordinance defining a family or relationship structure as a protected class. So, like, just because, like, does father make it a protected class now? Is that what it's saying? Like,
No.
I'm a little lost in what that means. It sounds nebulous and vague.
It means
So,
that. Oh God.
Oh,
Okay.
well,
it means
Elder
that.
Drazi.
It means that what people are calling a family, what your family is, has the same protections as what would traditionally be defined by the law as family. So if a kid says like my mom, and my dad, this has just as much protection as somebody who says my mom and my dad. That would be the most simple way I could break that down.
Okay,
You know,
so
There's
I
more to that, but
yeah, that's fine. So that's part one. I guess that answers the question at least to a moderate degree. I've tried to look into the numbers when it comes to poly folks, and I don't. When I say I don't like the numbers, what I mean by this, there's a lot of gray shit that I'm not really convinced of. There's a lot of politics that comes into some of these statistics that are very obvious to me, and there's obviously some levels where I don't think we've actually like done some really hardcore deep dive numerical research in this community. So I'm going to say this with a grain of salt, or actually, if you want to take a crate, go with it. I'm always going to be skeptical of this to some degree. On one level of it is like, I don't care if it's, dude, woman, what have you. The number of parents does concern me to some degree out of, we definitely saw problems with, the Mormons did it. Well, I'm being stupid right now. Can somebody like refresh my memory here?
that's polygamy, but
Yes. Yeah, sorry. I'm drawing a blank there. Polygamy has serious ramifications that a society has and has had to deal with. That is incredibly toxic. And I'm not saying that the poly folks are all polygamists or that they should be compared 1-to-1. But if there is not some level of commonality, I would be a little shocked. But I don't have the data to support that. I'm just making an inference. If it's working out for them, that's great. The problem is I don't know, and I would be talking on my ass if I said I did.
I know this is opening statements, but if just like one sentence, Mormons are fucking crazy. Their relationship structure isn't the thing that's making these bad results. They think that God fucked Mary.
I'll let that ride for now, just because of my. I'll let that
Sorry.
ride. Jack, did you want to get in on this, or are you chilling for now?
Oh, I muted myself, son of a bitch.
No, sorry, I had to defer for something else. As far as I'm concerned, non-traditional families should also be incentivized for multiple reasons and given protections for multiple reasons. Historically, we have seen, yes, some of the negatives that I'm sure Ty is going to very aptly bring up, and we will get into in the open, but they have also created a lot of good as well throughout history, depending on what culture they were involved in. So, at the very least, we need to incentivize the benefits from them and really focus on allowing them so that we can actually figure out what all of the benefits are in the modern world.
Most excellent. And Prime, how do you feel?
I'm okay with the government encouraging non-traditional marriage structures, because they can still confer benefits to the people involved and to the children it produces. So it should encourage good things and discourage bad things.
Oh no, I love what you said.
Okay.
And opening it up, everybody have
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
Mhm.
I'm taking hooks at all y'all, man. I'm swinging at all y'all except
I was
Ty,
waiting
because
for it.
Ty seems to be the only reasonable person here, man. Because like we're gonna
That's
say
not
we're
allowed.
okay with polyamory, but then say the Mormons are weird and they're providing bad data, and then we're gonna go into data and then not properly analyze the data.
Soon
We're just
after,
gonna,
as
Yeah,
we're just
I
gonna
was actually
communicate it in a positive way that fits your narrative.
I
and then
actually
you
wanted to
take
try to
it.
communicate that, but I didn't realize I was muted myself when I was trying to talk about that. So
Yeah.
like, let me get into a little bit of
Yeah,
this.
let me finish first. Let me finish. Like, first of all,
No,
like,
go ahead.
No, Ty's barely spoken this
No,
entire
like
panel.
I know.
Let
I
him finish
don't
his
want.
main.
Swing
I don't
first,
want to be
so I said
rude.
I'm gonna swing. Let me swing. Like,
Let
so
Ozzy
of
go,
course-
and then I'll go.
Yeah.
Oh,
Of course,
we.
Prime is gonna say yes because he wants everybody to do whatever he wants, and yet he wants to incentivize and decent a bunch of confusing things. So yeah, confused man is gonna say confused things. And that's why he's leftist. And
Ooh,
like
this-
that's just crazy to me. Like, and first of all, how would you? The purpose of like the laws and the tax incentives are, and how like how they function is provide like order and ease. How would you facilitate divorce between an individual? How would you facilitate tax breaks? Or
You're talking
tax-
about polygamy.
How would you facilitate like deductions, child deductions? If they have like, I'm thinking we had a topic before where a guy was like had 8 baby mamas. What if he marries all his moms and he has like
That's
20, 23
polygamy.
kids?
You're
That is
conflating
polygamy.
polygamy and polyamory.
It's you
But if
being
they
in a
get
relationship.
married,
That's not what we're talking about.
what's the fundamental difference? I'm gonna let so Ty, you can go now.
I actually would
And
like
I'm
to
gonna ask
answer that
you
too.
to define the definition.
I wanna-
the
I
difference.
I love how
that.
Azzy thinks he
Go
gets
ahead,
to
Ty.
say who
So
goes.
I want to see.
Because
So
Ty wants
Ty.
to go. I mean,
Well, no, Ty was trying to
Okay.
finish his main point, and Tuna after Ty.
All right. So when it came to excuse me, when it comes to I'm blanking the word again. Polygamy. Yes, thank you.
Yes.
When it comes
Or
to polygamy,
technically bigamy in this case, but yes.
yeah, all right. So when it comes to polygamy, one of the things that we saw, and it wasn't just the Mormons, right? This has been very common throughout a lot of
Sure.
cultures, throughout all of history. It's really bad in sub-Saharan Africa, actually, right now. But what two things that we tend to find? One, how it affects males is either one, they become hyper competitive, and two, where they are the husband, but they're never home. And when they are home, they're kind of pricks. Because they're basically trying to have a household with like multiple women. And guys, I'm in a relationship, but one's enough for me, right? So like, I don't know how y'all handling 4+, but apparently that's how they're doing it. On the other side of that is that the men who do not become part of that system become tend to be sexless, hyper violent, and there's a word for it. It's necrotic, not necrotic. Neuroses,
Neurotic?
like yeah.
Neurotic.
No, not erotic, but you know,
Neurotic.
neurotic. Sorry. Anyway, yeah. Long story short, with that
They
is
become non-erotic.
they tend to become social distance to the degree where like the military tends to conscript them or have to kill them, because that's the only way they can actually find the state can find to channel that energy and anger. When it comes to the women, is that I think everyone knows that particular story. It's just you're sharing a household with like 4 other women, or 4 other women and their families. It tends to be incredibly unequal. It tends to be a very loaded partnership for that woman to be a part of, and it does destroy social cohesion to a large degree.
Stigma.
Stigma aside, like there's a reality what a lot of places really acknowledged over the last 1,000 years. Go ahead.
Elder Drazi's chomping at the bit, but Tuna first, and then Elder Drazi.
Yeah, so I'm going to go into a couple of things. Number one, we can't really talk about the texture of these relationships as if they're like portable, primarily because over there they're not using condoms almost at all, right? They're little freaks. They're popping up. They're breeders. Stop doing that. And in the United States and most places that are technologically advanced, we decide to have children because we want to have children, not because we bust our nut into another woman, right? So when we're looking at the behavior of I mean, look at Drazi. Drazi has kids, but he's not just producing kids left and right every time that he has a fertile woman in front of him, he's able to hold that back. And it's more a part of our culture to use protection and to have birth be
Prime.
yeah, don't worry. I'm not. It's not about essential nature, some fucked up shit like that. It's just a part of what we do here because we're part of a technologically advanced culture that kind of thinks through childbirth based on our cultural perspective. Now, the secondary thing I want to put there is we keep talking about kids in this, kids this, kids that, kids this, kids that. Why are we always talking about making laws about relationships when we could instead be talking about making laws about guardianship? Why are we dodging around this with pussyfoot boots instead of just saying, hey, if it's about the kids, make it about the kids directly, not this weird shit?
Because it's not just
Drazi?
about kids.
Drazi?
go ahead,
Okay.
Tyler. I want to, yeah, go ahead.
Everybody has something to say at this point.
Yeah.
First of all, I really like the term pussyfoot boots. That's fantastic. But more importantly, if people don't stop conflating polyamory and polygamy throughout this conversation, I'm going to lose my fucking mind and nobody's going to get to talk, okay? There's big problems with polygamy because polygamy as we know it is usually almost exclusively one man who's married to a bunch of women who fucking hate each other, okay? Now, typically, when we talk about, especially when laws get involved and we talk about polyamory, it's almost exclusively through the context of like a triad relationship where everybody's dating each other. That's not all polyamory is. Polyamory is any kind of relationship where there is more than just the typical two people who are dating each other. It could be the form of two people that are dating each other that also separately date different people. It could be three people all in a relationship together, which is going to be fundamentally different than an oppositional household where there is one man who has a commitment to four women who have no commitment to each other and are thus competing for their one partner's attention. So, like, to make conflations between these two things are crazy. That's what Mormons do, by the way. Mormons have, what is it, that show Big Love? One guy, four wives who fucking hate each other. And kind of hate him.
You're talking about, but number one, you're
So
lying. Because
I'm
that's
not
all
lying.
Mormons.
No, that's when we're talking about polygamous Mormons. Mormons do not let the wives marry each other too.
But that's not all Mormons because there's plenty of Mormon families where there's one wife or multiple husbands.
Yeah, but that's not applicable to this
I'm not sure that's
conversation.
Mormon.
And they're all happy and they cohabitate in a pleasant manner. And there's no issue.
I'm not
That's
sure
not
if that's
applicable here.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's my turn next, so I'm gonna go. So Drazi, I'll go with the hot take that the strict action of polygamy is not bad, not necessarily bad. It's simply multiple people marrying each other, right? And but you baked into your definition like opposition, right? And you brought up Big Love, which actually a show that I adored.
Because that's how people are describing it, though, to be clear.
Okay, so I'm saying that you can have a situation where people decide to marry each other, like or multiple women decide to marry one man, or the other way around, and that be a happy relationship. I think that the way it's often instituted here within the context of the United States and our history is in a toxic way, of course. Oftentimes with minor children and people who are forced to be into it. So I want to be very clear that like that doesn't mean I'm for like what Mormons have done in the past with that. But
me and you,
just
same page.
Polygamy sure, great. But I'm trying to work with Azzy here, and he was understanding the difference between polygamy and polyandry, right? And it seems to me, or sorry, not polyamory, excuse me. And it seems to me that the difference is like the marriage certificate, or the marriage ceremony, any which way. Because like you could just love each other and then all get married, and then your relationship doesn't necessarily have to change, correct? Okay, so then Azzy was right. Then there's like in a very limited sense, that these two actions, these two relationship structures, aren't that different.
They're not. Polyamory is just more than polygamy or polyandry, which is one wife, multiple husbands. It's just more than that because it goes beyond marriage. That's why it's different, and you're able to experience different romantic and different relationships outside of just the traditional. That's the only difference.
Well, the difference when we're having conversations like this, especially when we're involving law, is that the data that we have on polygamy is going to be almost entirely from Mormons or people similar to Mormons. So I want to make it very clear, like, I'm polyamorous. My wife and I have had partners that we've dated together. We've dated separately. And there have been partners that we've had where, like, well, we understand that we could never get married, but, like, spiritual union's not off the table here. And I can guarantee you that this sort of dynamic would not resemble anything like what we have data on with polygamy, because this would be three people who all love and care about each other. There's no competitive force here. It's like all same team. There's essentially three relationships happening. There's A to B, B to C, C to A, and then there's the whole relationship. Whereas in the kind of polygamous relationships that we have data on, it's A to B, A to C, A to D, A to E, and then all of these people are competing. It's inherently competitive and toxic. There's no way to get around that. There can't be the same kind of teamwork elements.
I admire it.
I don't see how that's different from any other multiple partners, I don't see it. There's no difference.
I get what he's trying to say. I get what Drazi is trying to say. My only difference with him is that, like, I don't think it necessarily is oppositional, but I think it can often be oppositional. But he's saying that if it's one man, in this example, one man and like three other wives, that those wives like didn't like necessarily come to that relationship for wife A, or wife B, or wife C. Wife A is for herself, and if the man is spending more time with wife B, all of a sudden she feels like she's missing out, right? And she's not there to fuck wife B or wife C, so she's missing out on that sort of relationship.
But typically, it's just the man having the relationships with multiple, so it's just the women are competing for the man. It's not that, and I don't know what they're doing in their home or in their bedroom. They're married, and we don't know what they're doing, and that may not be in the data. So I just have a problem with, and I feel like we are demonizing.
Well, Mormons aren't allowed to do gay stuff, so we kind of know in the Mormon context, which we have data on.
Yeah, but okay. They're not supposed to. Okay,
not supposed to audit.
Mormons are.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying they're all like this, but it is a religion of pretty strict adherence. Mormons have very little wiggle room in breaking the dogma without getting kicked the fuck out of the church. I don't know if you've met a lot of Mormons, but it's a pretty like over the shoulder, like, we know what you're doing in your house kind of community.
Okay, that's like, listen, they got cameras, like, so I'm not even gonna do this. Okay, it's not indulgent. I accept it. Granted, you talked about spiritual relationships, but yet you're a.
Well, I said spiritual union, which would just be like marriage without paperwork.
Spirit, which implies like a extra tangible.
Well, I could use a different word. That's not what I'm intending. It's just another word people use.
Any word, it doesn't really matter. Any word, it doesn't really matter. I just don't understand why we're trying to equate Mormons to the bad data, and as to why we shouldn't participate like the Mormons, and then you're going to use that to help your point, which I think it hurts your point.
No, I'm trying to exclude it from polyamory because
I don't know why you're doing that,
because it's already happened in this conversation.
All right, so look, wait, guys, Azzy,
chill 1 second.
All right, Azzy. So I'll take the flag for bringing in the excuse me. Yeah, no, not the topic, but
I did this.
Guys, all right. I brought the polygamy thing in, and there is a reason. It's like, hey, do we see bad data in this particular one? And then there is a conversation we had. Does this parallel the poly community? Do they have the similar problems, or do they not? I think there's pretty good arguments to say both may very well be true. Now, I'm sure that Elder Draws is going to defend it because he's in that community, right? And he's going to make his team look really good. So, like,
I'm in that
I would
community
have-
because it's defensible.
Okay, sure. I don't really care.
Gonna-
Anyway, when it comes down to it, though, is that if we're I'm a conservative in the right. I don't want bad things to just come in without, kind of being vetted. So I am going to ask, like, all right, poly folks, like, what makes you different than polygamous? And some of the arguments that he has made, I absolutely agree with, right? It's not a relationship between the one dude and X women. It tends to be more, you are getting a relationship that is multi-vectored. Now, the guy in my head is screaming, why the fuck would you ever want this? But, people be people, right? I cannot definitively say that this is a good or bad idea, but my inclination, if I may be so rude, is that it's probably a bad idea, but I can't prove that.
So this idea about the way that polyamorous people behave has led to like sort of a rebranding recently to being called ethical non-monogamy, because a lot of people just sort of hear it and then your ideas run rampant of all the things that can go wrong. So anybody who's going to advocate for polyamory, and also I do advocate for it, I am part of the group, and I don't think that there should be any dismissal of my opinions of it just because I am in the group. People in a group should advocate for the group. So ethical non-monogamy, or I just prefer the term polyamory. I don't feel like we have to go out of our way to justify it with a new phrasing. But if you're doing it ethically, if you're doing it correctly, everybody that you are engaged with should be an equal partner in relation to certain aspects. So like if I've been with my wife for 11 years, if I start dating somebody, she should have equal consideration insofar as it makes sense. Should I trust this person as much as I trust my wife after 2 weeks dating? Of course not. But this would be the same as if I was monogamous and I was dating somebody for 2 weeks. I would not trust somebody I've been dating for 2 weeks monogamously like I would somebody that I've been dating for 11 years monogamously. So I just say that as long as all partners are treated equally in respect to the way that they would be treated in a monogamous relationship that we would consider ethically, there aren't going to be any problems. Whereas the kinds of polygamous relationships that we have data on do have some inherent problems in the dynamic because there is unequal power dynamics and unequal there's just unequal relationship structures. You can't have 4 wives that you're only dating and they're only allowed to date you and give everybody equal time. You can't give them equal consideration. That's just not going to be something that's possible if they're all vying for you. But if you have people that are dating each other, you can all work together to create a best scenario for everybody. Or if you're dating other people as well and the other person is free to as well, then they can create their own opportunities as well.
Tuna?
And rant.
I kind of want to sweep the leg under this entire thing right now, because I think that we've been arguing on something that I think is kind of stupid, which is, do you think that people should be held back from getting into marriages that will inevitably fail? Because that seems to be the underlying thing. Let's say that these are just marriages and relationships that are not going to succeed. I'm okay with people figuring out by touching the oven. You know what I mean? I'm not going to try and create a law structure around it. If you need to put your hand inside of a saw blade to realize you shouldn't grab saw blades, that's you living and learning. Living and fucking learning. Obviously, with a real saw blade, I like the blades that stop when they touch flesh. I'm not going to say, hey, we should have never made saw blades softer. But I'm not going to put a cage around the saw blade that says, never, ever, ever touch a saw blade. Because it's like, frankly, if you want to take that risk, if you want to go into a non-traditional, unprecedented relationship structure, you assume the risk, you assume the reward, you assume everything. That's just what it is. We don't need a law to prevent it.
I agree.
It's the same as
don't
monogamy too.
But I don't think there ever was a law preventing it. The issue is they're now including a protected class of family structure, which includes polyamorous families, which I don't understand. And they're equating it to married, heterosexual, cisgendered, nuclear families.
Can I give
I
you
don't
an example?
I don't see why they're equating it if these people aren't getting married. They're not married, and it seems that the family, the people who are married they're
expanding
polyamorous
benefits.
relationships.
They're expanding benefits. previously, like it was only between like man and woman or man and man who could like see each other within the hospital, right? Like get those visitation rights. Now they're saying if there's a third person within the context of that relationship, that person can also do it. So they're expanding those benefits. Even if you could be in a polyamorous relationship previously, you couldn't do that. So they're just giving you more.
Prime nailed it. Also, based, he excluded lesbians. Awesome.
Of course, no,
but-
they're the worst. No,
So-
we don't.
There's benefits.
Damn it.
Ozzy, what's the harm?
What's the harm? There's
Yeah.
plenty of harm.
Lay it on me.
Talk about the harm. I listed a lot of like 3 in particular, like the because, for instance, say we start here and then now we move forward and now these polyamorous or these individuals who now have this family structure, now they just want to all get married and they all want to it engage in the marital contract, right? So
Where's the
now-
harm?
Where's the harm? So the social stigma, the emotional stress that could
But the law's
happen
there to
if
protect
you-
that, right?
Well, now
social
you're
stigma?
just making it more complicated because what if these 3 people get married to each other? It's not just A married to D and A married to C and A married to B married to C, and then C and A. No, they're all married to each other. So what if A wants to divorce C, but B doesn't want to get divorced?
That's how you got to figure that shit out. Then that's your relationship.
This
Those are-
What if my wife wants to divorce me and I don't want to divorce her?
Yeah, that's.
It's like an unstable chemical reaction in my
But
eyes.
those are divorce proceedings,
It's
and
like-
divorce
it's like-
proceedings are fucking messy, even in the simplest of terms, right? They're really fucking messy.
Yeah,
So
they're
like,
messy, but there's solutions that can be managed.
yeah, but this can be managed as well.
You're-
But
both.
No, because some carbons can't handle too many hydrogen.
Fun fact: my wife and I have broken up with
More than
people.
you can't bring on more than you can take. You can't physically. People can't. Why do you think there's so much issue? Why do you think there's so much? We have like honed like society onto fixing mental health.
Ooh, Tuna
and
Chip has something to
therapy.
say.
Physically.
So how does a therapist get in between? Okay, all right, I'm gonna give it to y'all. Like, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, say what y'all want to say. I think it's gonna be complicated, and it's gonna be a lot
You
of turmoil.
can't say that in the
There's
caveat
gonna be
like
a
that.
lot more trauma than necessarily needs. Some people do not need to touch the stove. It's called conventional wisdom.
It's complicated.
Somebody already
Damn
touched
it.
the stove,
Wait.
and now you're saying, well, he just needs to touch the stove. No, tell that person no touch the stove. Go
I
ahead.
love Azzy. Go ahead, Tuna.
It just defeats
Okay.
all conventional wisdom.
Damn
I must be super genius because it doesn't feel complicated to me. I don't know. Sorry, Tuna.
Yeah. No. Okay. Number one, families, when they break up from a divorce, already have multiple people that have different incentives. Most kids don't understand and don't want the divorce to happen. So are we going to say, hey, the second you get a kid, you're not allowed to get divorced? Of course not. Sometimes divorces just need to happen because there are matters between 2 people that they can understand that they have involvement in, that because of that, they have to fucking figure it out. I don't want mom and dad to divorce. I don't want my boyfriend and girlfriend to divorce. I don't fucking care. Get over it, not yours, right? It comes down to it. You're going to find the solution or you're going to not find the solution. Then everybody dies. And then the locusts and lepers that you're scared of are rising from the ground. It's not actually that catastrophic. I think that you're blowing it up, right? It's a problem for them. It's a problem for them, not you. You're not getting in a polyamorous marriage. You don't have to deal with that complex narrative. And if a girl says, hey, you know what? I know we've been dating. I held this back to you. I'm actually already married to somebody. Are you interested in this? If your dick is too fucking sloppy, damn hard for you to say, I'm not going to get into that complicated nonsense, and you get into something that's too big for you to handle, you just bit off more than you could chew, buddy.
You're you're not gonna get away with this nonsense.
I like
because
it.
I don't need to deal with it. I don't need to deal with it, and I'm not a stakeholder in this. I'm just a stakeholder in the nation.
That's
But
his
Elder
point.
Drazi and
Wait.
no, I know that's his point, and that's why I'm saying miss me with that nonsense because we already have people who are in polyamorous relationships, and they already talked about the issues with polyamorous relationships. Drazi said himself that there's a lot of competition and emotional and emotional.
He talked about polygamy.
Wait, Prime
Polygamy.
looks like he's ruminating.
But we're talking
Wait,
about marriage. No. I know you're talking about
Jesus.
polygamy, but we're talking.
We were talking about marriage. We're talking about polyamory right now.
I know we're talking about. Follow me, brothers. Follow me, brothers. Beloved, Habibi. Follow me.
Habibi.
I love y'all.
Stop equating them to one and the same as the issue.
I'm not equating them. I'm saying if you introduce marriage more because certain protections then, and as people progress and evolve, you're going to require more protections because, like Prime said, people want to do what we should allow people to do what they want to do. If they enter into this polyamorous relationship and then later on they all want to get married to each other, then now you're going to enter into the same issues that a monogamous relationship would. But now you have introduced more factors. For instance, if in a hetero marriage between 1 and 1, if they get divorced, they just split the property in half. If there's like 3 or 4 people getting married and then one wants to get divorced, what do they now have to split?
We might have to apply an additional
do
fraction.
They have to do math.
Yeah, but that's basically like damning people to poverty.
No, Prime. You seem like you've been ruminating for a minute. Like, what's been on your mind?
Have I?
Just don't have a fucking kid.
Right.
Shit.
Yeah, I actually don't have that much to say. I don't think it's that much that complicated. Yeah, sorry, I apologize. I'm coughing. That we, within the context of a man and woman relationship, right? And those two people split apart. It is incredibly contentious, almost all the time. It's incredibly contentious, and it gets incredibly ugly. Like, family court is like the worst. Like, from all descriptions I've ever heard about it, it is literally the worst. I get what you're saying in that, like, introducing another party in there ups the complexity of the proceedings. But yeah, we as a society can adapt to that and figure out strategies, just how we figure out strategies to deal with a man and woman splitting apart. We figure out strategies for a man and a man, or a woman and a woman. I remember the lesbians this time. Splitting apart. And there are bigger complications there, right? There are in gay relationships, right? We could talk about that later. But I was just reading an article about this and interesting new wrinkles into divorce proceedings dealing with gay marriage, but we can adapt to that. So I don't think we can't adapt to the thing that our friend Drazi is into.
I'm not saying you can't adapt to it. I'm just saying that the complexity is there's going to be a lot of trauma when there's more individuals involved. That means there's exponential trauma. That's what's going to happen. And what I'm saying, and like even if we were just talking, sorry, go ahead.
Man, why are you making other people's like fucking bad life decisions your fucking choice? Why is this getting involved? And also, I just wanted to make an additional factor. So I've made a list.
Oh God, fucking
things said. And hold on, we have to get to the part here. Oh, this was the one. This was the one right here. Forget this stuff. That was Prime's chapter. So,
oh,
why are you smiling, buddy? No, you're going on and on and on saying like, oh, you want to hear the harm? Well, here's the harm. People are going to make a bad choice and it's going to hurt them. Yeah, that's every free person ever. Are we going to limit freedom just because people can hurt themselves with it? Of course not. Are we going to limit freedom because, oh my God, people are making it look so glamorous to have sex with a bunch of STD-ridden freaks? Like, the disincentive structure is already there. It's already there. People don't want to be poly. So
freedom ain't free. Freedom ain't free.
Oh my God.
Oh, Ty has something to say.
I'm gonna have an aneurysm here. All right, so on one side, on the previous part of the argument, which I think most of us did agree with, is that a state can have this conversation in the cost benefit analysis of, hey, if we encourage a certain thing, can we get more good things out of it? Right? We all agree with that. It's been alluded to, and I definitely am now having to run into it to where can the state come in and say, yeah, that thing that you can do, like you have the freedom to do it, but it's really fucking bad for you. We're gonna try to stop you from doing that. Shit like smoking, right? Not only do we actually allow you to do it, but we still tax the fucking shit out of you to do it. That kind of thing. I have no problem with sin taxes. I have no problem with the state discouraging certain behaviors. And you can see where this compounds, right? When it comes to marriage, we know that the end result is if you have a productive and happy marriage, you tend to have a good family, good kids, and are better off citizens overall.
That's a tautological argument.
I'm not done. All right. Just to finish this off, though, is that
Yes.
if you fail, right? If it fails, then the problem is that you are now increasing the likelihood that everything goes to shit for you. And so there is a question for a state to have where is, hey, do we actually increase the barrier to entry for something that is so risky but so rewarding?
Brains are breaking, so let's go in order. Let's go Elder Drazi, Tuna, Prime.
God damn it.
Ozzy.
I was doing a bit where I couldn't figure out how to divide by 4 or 3, and you had to go and say the dumbest fucking thing I've heard all night. Are you kidding me?
Go.
You just said if somebody's in a relationship and it goes bad, then it's bad. But people in good relationships have good results. And that's your fucking argument? Are you kidding me?
No, there was a level above that.
You made a tautological argument.
All right, so let me.
You're defining a good relationship as.
No, let me TLDR this real quick, since you apparently missed the point. The point was this: yes, when you have a good relationship, good things happen, right? The reward upon those things are incredible. Having a good relationship is incredibly rewarding, but having a failed relationship is incredibly disastrous to that person and all the people that are in it. Yes, that is not just a bare bones argument. It's like, hey, there is a susceptibility of scale here to where
the relationship is good because of the rewards. The relationship is bad because of the impacts of the failure.
I would flip that upside down. The relationship, when the relationship gets bad, is that it has horrid effects on a person.
That's what makes it bad,
partner, right?
Is that what you're trying? So I'm just trying to get to what you're trying to say here, Ty. That maybe the government shouldn't allow this, or at least encourage this, because the societal impact of a failed polyamorous relationship is magnitudes worse than a failed traditional relationship. Is that what you're trying to say?
In an offhand way, I'm saying that if that is the possibility, because I do not know for sure, then yeah, there is a reason why you would possibly want to discourage that. The more thing that I was getting on is that just in any marriage, right, whether it's a marriage you approve of or not, is that one, do we want to encourage it or do we want to disencourage it, which we already talked about in part 1. But the second part, the addendum, was largely, even if we encourage it, do we want to means test it? Do we want to say, hey, to get married, you actually have to put something into it first because it's so important, which was more of my second point.
As Tuna Chip has fevered nightmares of this conversation.
Sorry. I thought I was just having a fucking fever dream because I heard people that are claiming to be a conservative say that they want to make the government bigger and more involved in people's lives so that they can reduce the harm that'll happen to them when they do bad things. I was having a schizophrenic fucking aneurysm. The whole fucking point of a relationship, the whole point of a person's own life is to make choices, make mistakes, die trying, pursue the thing that they think is worth fucking while. Why are we going to hold people back and put them into these rigid fucking definitions? Maybe you, because you're inside of your fucking God brain over there. You've got this idea, oh my God, a person's body is the property of Sky Dad. I don't fucking know what your little creepy, you're all talking about reproducing.
Do you have a point?
People should be able to shoot meth into their fucking eyeball if they don't do anything to anybody else. This is fucking crazy. Fucking nanny state bullshit.
Wait, that's the thing that I'm adding, or that I'm getting at, is I hate these folks who are like, yeah, let's just do whatever the fuck we want. Let's just shoot meth in our arms. We're the own sovereigns of our own body, right? There's no horrible repercussions that come from that shit, right?
Yeah, there are bad repercussions.
Yes, not only to you but to also your fellow citizens.
Oh, what's the harm to my citizens in the situation as I described before, where I am not going out and doing anything. Because when I go out and do something, when I do a crime, you punish the crime, right? Like, what are
Right.
you worried about?
Wait, Ty just said something fascinating because polyamorous relationships, any bad, has negative impacts on society. How many breakups have I had, Ty?
I
How
have
many
no
times did
idea.
you feel that wave of despair wash over you when society was hurt
not
because
married
it
to
didn't work
anyone.
out? I am married.
No, you're married to a person. But
Yeah.
with polyamorous other relationships, you're not married to those individuals, and you don't consider them family. They're just extra marital.
Yeah. Whoa. I
Together.
Yeah, okay, family, but they're not technically family. They're family, spiritual or whatever word may have you.
We don't have paper, so therefore society is totally safe. But once paper's involved, now society will crumble, the mountains will weep, Ty is going to have to go out and abuse children because he's so fucking emotionally damaged that my polyamorous relationship
All
turned
right.
into a polygamous one, and then we got divorced.
Let me put this in a ground level here, right? And so you're like, hey, you know what? I haven't had a breakup, or at least not in a very long time, and I respect you for that. And that's anecdotal evidence I can take. I can also accuse you of survivorship bias, right? So let's just call this a draw. When it comes to the point that I can make here is that when you involve more people in this particular relationship, being polyamorous, let's say it's you, another dude, and your woman, and
Okay.
you have the relationship tank, you're not just having the two people tank, you're now having three. And yes, there is a return of scale into this, where the more people this impacts, the worse it gets.
Okay,
Is
so
that
there's another side to this though. Okay, so
Sure.
You think that it is bad?
So recently, my wife and I are no longer dating the woman that we were dating. My wife and I are still together. Now, this is bad for all three people. However, our girlfriend has another partner that she gets to lean on because we're polyamorous. And me, if I had lost her and I'm also alone, I'm going to be so much more devastated. I can't express this to anybody. Nobody else understands what I'm going through. How could they? They didn't know her like I did. I have somebody else who understands exactly what I'm going through. I have somebody that I can lean on and make that pain much more bearable, and because of that, I can take that pain and share it with her and not have to make it everybody else's fucking problem. Whereas somebody gets divorced and they end up going beating the shit out of a bunch of people at a bar because how can anybody understand, or blowing their fucking brains out. There are upsides to this thing too. When you look at it, that's why it's important to hear an inside voice about this, because when you're looking at it from the outside, you see all these problems that can come up when things don't go perfectly, but you don't also see the additional benefits. There are additional protections that polyamorous people have when things aren't ideal in your life.
I think I'm getting sold down river on the last part. Of course, you want to ask people who are involved, right? They're going to be the fiercest advocate for.
Well, I'm saying that there's a perspective that seems to be not. You can't understand some of these things that will come up, like this additional level of support if you haven't been in it, because you're not gonna. I think there's only so far you can take it down the thought experiment train, which is why I haven't heard anybody in the opposition mention it.
Oh well, that's actually kind of. I mean, that's kind of why I didn't mention it. Is I totally could see it.
It's a truism.
I don't know if that I'm just kind of putting calculus in my head. Two people going to shit, bad. There's also when you have three people, that the axes, if you will, of the relationship is that they can. Two people who are not getting along can go to the third person, right? And so there's actually an argument to resiliency in that system. The problem is that you also have the reality where the two people who have a problem tank the relationship for all three, which exponentially makes it worse.
But it doesn't always work like that. My wife and I are still together. We survived through this really awful breakup that was pretty bad. If we didn't have each other, still, I think it would have been worse.
Right. So I'm very happy for you. And if that's the norm, then I can't wait to see that. That's great. If it's not the norm, and I'm sorry, I have to play super skeptical here.
All I'm trying to impress upon this is that try not to think about it in terms of you're doing math here, and this is an emotional thing that involves multiple people, and it's not always going to go in one certain way, creating certain outcomes.
Because he is a bit of a math brain, what would you say the percentage of polyamorous breakups go the way you're talking about, where two people remain and have that shoulder to lean on, and one is parting ways, and how many are complete nuke, all three depart?
Okay,
Just
so
because you are in the lifestyle, you're going to have a more cogent frame of reference.
So triad relationships like I'm describing are not the most common form of polyamory. It's usually people that are free to date and have other relationships separate from their other partners. Typically, you'll have two people that live together, and then they will also go out and date other people. So there are partners that they live with that they're going to share most of their time with. Are going to be mostly unaffected in the same way that somebody in a relationship like I just described would be. And it's this relationship like I just described, it's pretty common that not all three people go their separate ways. I would say upwards of 60% of the time. And I say this as somebody not who just lives the lifestyle. Like I have I've had in the past a fairly popular blog about polyamory. I'm pretty active in the online polyamory community, communicating with people. So like I'm not just talking out of my ass and my own personal experiences.
Okay, Tuna.
This entire argument is kind of going down to the whole point of why self-governance for these smaller issues is good. Drazi's making a good point here. People that are doing the thing understand the thing best. They're the ones that are the best equipped to make decisions about the thing. Also, frankly, if it's so bad for you, it'll self-correct because they'll all end their own lives. The bridges will become the platforms upon which the change happens, right? So it's just like drug abuse. It's a self-negating thing in many ways. Eventually, the customers are all dead. In the case of polyamory, we know that it's not that fucking big of a deal because when people find the failure of polyamory, and also the sooner they find it, if they find it in college and high school, if it ends up not working for them, the more socially okay it is, the earlier people test it, figure out it's not for them, and then get into these marriages that are more safe. That means representing it, making it so that it's a more accepted thing is actually good for weeding out the people that are not fit for it.
I am never ethically going to be on board with 90% of what you just said.
It's okay for people to kill themselves.
Okay.
Also,
Yeah.
Ozzy, go ahead.
What? Just what happens. Welcome to life.
Sure. For science, yeah, we should allow it, for science, just for research purposes.
How about no?
Let's just go down the path, what I mean? It doesn't matter if there's a chasm in the middle, and they all die, they're gonna die anyway, man. It doesn't matter if the bridge falls apart, they're gonna all die anyway. I mean, there's certain reasons why scientists don't go down certain routes because, like Tiberius said, ethically, there's certain things you shouldn't do. Cowards.
Let the gays get married for science.
Yeah, but no, because we, as people who have ethics and wisdom, and you typically learn from other individuals who have wisdom, because most people don't have common sense. Most people aren't as disciplined and mature as what Elder Drazi might be, or other individuals who might have positive relationships in polyamory. Most people, in fact, in our own personal lives, even people we don't know that well, they seem pretty immature. They don't have a lot of experience. They don't have a lot of wisdom. They tend not to listen to people who have good wisdom, and they make mistakes, and it ends up just perpetuating trauma. And it hurts everybody. And then now we have to go through this period of healing that you might have avoided if you just done something ethically and with wisdom. So now we're talking about, yes, fine. I'm okay with polyamorous relationships. I want everybody to be happy. Okay.
People should learn from my wisdom.
But I'm not going to push polyamorous relationships because it requires a lot more discipline. Like I said, it requires a lot more from that individual and from all those individuals in that relationship to make sure nobody is harmed in that thing. It's much easier with somebody who have a one-to-one relationship. It's much,
Okay.
it's just
I'm telling you right now, that for some people that might just not be true. For some people that might just not be true. Because I'll tell you one thing. I do not want to be the sole emotional support of any of my partners. I want them to have friends that they can go to. And then I also want them to have people that they care about in an even more deep and intimate way where they can share anything with them in the way that they don't want to share with friends. I'm not even doing polyamory. I'm in a monogamous relationship right now. And even then, I will never date a woman that has that philosophy where I'm her strongest relationship. No, you need to have somebody on the same level as me, period, or else I'm not interested. I don't want that. That's too much. And I don't want you to be
They're
that
not. They're never going to be on the same level because yes, friendships aren't at the same. They're a type of intimacy, but they're not the same type of intimate that you have with your partner. Intimacy you have with
exactly
your partner.
why she should
You're
fuck
never
other
going to be on this. So are you
Whoa.
in a polyamorous relationship right now?
No. So what I tell my girlfriend is that if she ever wants to sleep with other people, she should just go for it.
So you want to be in a polyamorous relationship. So your heart has
No.
out of the
I don't.
abundance of the mouth, the heart speaks. Yes.
No,
What,
no,
what,
no, this
answer?
is important. I don't want. I just consider it none of my business. If she doesn't want, I'm not encouraging her. I'm not encouraging her at all. That's the difference. And I agree with you. I'm not going to encourage
See the
polyamory or
problems?
monogamy. The only thing that I encourage is not reproducing.
Okay, so what are the problems of her going out and having intimate sexual relationships with other people while in a relationship with you, and
Well,
not in a consensual polyamorous relationship?
what are the problems? The only thing that would be a problem is if she tries to have sex with me without giving me the informed risk factor by her like knowing whether or not she's taken on an STD, right?
I think that you're being very blind in this. There's a lot more problems that you're not considering. For instance, what if she has sex with the right person and that person fulfills all her emotional needs in a way that you don't, and then now she wants to leave you for that person because people can do whatever they want.
Are you listing negatives or positives?
True.
Is that a negative for you or is that a positive? Yeah, it's a positive for her. Is it a negative for you?
Her body, dude, her life. If she doesn't want to be with me, she should be with me.
What?
He's not fucking with you. I know Tuna very well. He's being sincere. I know that's really hard for people to wrap their brains around, but I just want to.
Yeah,
I know he's not.
He's looking at it from an unselfish stance, right? He's saying that if this gives her the opportunity to find the person she was truly meant to be with, Mr. Right, as you described them, well, then great. You know,
but
like
this
that's
may not be the Mr. Right. This may be somebody who's just fulfilling.
Well, you said right.
No,
well,
I didn't say no.
You kind of did. You really kind of did.
You're adding layers to what I'm saying that I haven't already.
Okay,
it's the logical conclusion to what you said.
If
you said fulfills all
enough,
needs.
Hey, if he slings it good enough for her to leave, then she should leave. And then she finds the next guy and the next guy and the next guy. She gets to make those choices for herself, right? If she wants to go dick,
like a red pillar, bro.
But
no, that's the thing, though.
A red pillar would never say that.
That's not. That's not what a red pillar would say. Yeah, no.
A red pillar would say. A red pillar would say you need to make it so that she can't receive the dick, such that she is ignorant and that your personal value, she never gets to figure out that there's better dick out there. That's what he would say.
And they say if she cheats on you or she's having if she's having other sexual intimate relationships, that there's higher likelihood that she's going to cheat and leave you and hurt you.
Pride?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean,
yeah.
I don't go into a relationship with the expectation that it's going to last forever. I know from day one she's either going to leave me, I'm going to leave her, or one of us is going to die. That's how every relationship ends.
Or there's plenty of benefits.
Hold up, Azzy.
I want all parties to be happy, but that doesn't mean they have to be happy together. You know, like they could be happy with other people. So if they decide, if for whatever reason, may not having to sleep with a person, right? You just talk with this other person, you realize emotionally, like that happens all the time. Like you talk to another person and realize they are a better fit. Well, then yeah, they should probably break up. Why shouldn't they have a chance for a proper fulfillment? You know, they were just because you got into a relationship doesn't mean you need to be stuck in that relationship, or that you should be stuck in it simply through a matter of ignorance, right? Like, so
Based.
I don't know.
All polyamory really is, it's a lack of limitations.
I need my woman to walk around like the bitch from Birdcage. She can't even look at another man. She can't even look at another man. God forbid she finds someone with a jawline stronger than me and she walk away from me. That's what it sounds like right now, dude.
And I would want a person who is loyal, right? Like if it's to the case that this person is willing to sleep around and someone does a better job in bed, and she immediately leaves, and that's the reason. Well, then they did me a solid before I spend 20 years this woman, and then she does it later on. I would actually like to find that out sooner rather than later.
But you
If
don't
you-
understand how you just made you and Tuna just made two conflicting statements. If she's being loyal, that means there's a level of sacrifice that she's making. She can have friends. She shouldn't sacrifice her friendships. But if she's being loyal to you, there's certain things she will not do because then it won't break the boundaries that you have set for the relationship.
No.
That's loyalty. That means loyalty means no matter what happens.
There's different
I'm
types
gonna
of no.
sacrifice-
There's different types of loyalty, right? So there could be loyalty, like emotional loyalty, in that like I won't share myself, share my deepest feelings in the way I'll share it with my spouse or partner. There is a sexual loyalty where I won't go with anyone else like in that way. But you can decide what kind you want for your relationship. So I've been in an open relationship and it's fine. It's and if that other person has discovered a better option, then that's okay. I mean, it hurts. It fucking hurts. Of course, it hurts. But like that doesn't mean I want to keep that person trapped to me if they want to fuck around.
Loyalty is about one thing: empathetic consideration. That's it.
That will make it easy for the Bible people. I want my girlfriend to be turned into the pillar of salt if she looks back. She needs to go through the test. She needs to go through the test. If she is not given the opportunity to be tempted and then stands away from it, then she has not been filtered. She is not truly loyal. She is loyal merely because she has been convinced that she must be loyal. No. I want a woman that is loyal because she wants to be loyal, because she is safe being loyal.
Untested virtue is no virtue at all.
That's called old covenant, and that's not what Bible people want. Bible people don't want their people to get turned into pillars of salt if they look back.
That was hyperbole, though. Right?
I know it was hyperbole, but I'm just saying it for the sake of...
Bible people usually just want to have it both ways, but
No, they don't. They want grace. They want grace, loyalty. There's concessions in marriage.
you have weird ideas about loyalty. Loyalty is nothing more than empathetic consideration. It doesn't mean I do what you want. It means that I consider what you want. When I'm making a decision, I'm going to consider how you feel about it, and that's going to actually make an impact in how I go about conducting myself, if it has any bearing on you. That's what loyalty is. That doesn't mean you get to decide what I do.
Am I muted?
Also, Jews
Okay,
are
no.
better than Christians.
Well, damn.
All right, I'll get back into this
Chill
because
out.
like I think I can really steel man Azzy's argument here, because I kind of believe it too to some degree, but there's a level where like there is an age-old conversation to be had between like basically like go out, experience the world, and like have a more refined sense of self because you know exactly what you want, right? There's also another level to where part of being in a relationship is realizing that you are always going to be susceptible to like the longings of the greater world around you, right? Like you devote yourself to a person, and I take that term devotion pretty seriously, that it's like, hey, you might see that internet hottie that flirts with you all the time, but you understand that there is an obligation where it's like your person comes first. You don't indulge in that because you are committed to something or to something greater. And to me, what I know is that there is a point where it goes into blatantly unethical. If you guys agree, as partners, hey, y'all can flirt, y'all can, you can even meet up. Like that's on you. There is a lack of, I almost want to say wisdom, but I think that'd be rude. But I do feel like there is a lack of wisdom to say that just anything goes. I think there's some levels that absolutely have to be defined and have to be stuck on pretty hard.
It's reinventing the wheel.
Can I run a test by you?
Okay, Tuna
Yeah, go for
has
it.
something to say,
Oh, I guess let Tuna go first, and then I'll run a test by you.
and then Eldrazi.
Those things need to be negotiated between the individuals. Like you say wisdom, and I understand that there's this entire idea, and I'm not going to say anything goes. I'm not the type of person that gets into relationships and says, you know what? You can call me an idiot. You can fucking break my stuff. I'm not a pushover. I'm not setting boundaries. I'm setting boundaries as an individual. I am making rules from my expectations, values, her expectations and values, yada, yada, yada. I'm not taking it from someone else and taking it for granted. Now, I have a rational mind. I can do predictive work, right? I know that there are plenty of women that I have decided to stop dating, not because of cheating, not because of some this, that, or the other, because I saw in her personality something that was untrustworthy. Whether or not she's an alcoholic, whether or not she's the type of person that every time that she gets mad, she decides that it's free game to break every rule and every agreement we had. Those types of things can still exist as like rational considerations, and they don't need to come from like some cultural agreement that everybody has, right? It doesn't need to come from this like cultural wisdom. It can just be like, we're still human beings with like a limbic system and a brain and rationality. We can fucking sense it. We know when something's wrong for us. I don't think we need this.
So this is why one of the reasons why I call myself a Republican. When I say that is because I believe that we need a Republican, not every individual actor doing their own thing, is because I don't think the average person is really good at sussing that out. And I wish I could believe in my fellow human beings more, but I just don't.
We share stories. We have a republic. That's the point. We are a union of co-experiencers. We have a society. This is communicated culturally. Why does it need to be communicated legally?
It's a great question. I'll put it in this regard because I'm just kind of like rolling off the top of my head with this one. The reason why we communicate it legally is that we kind of identify that there's a norm and a standard, right? We can have a conversation about what that norm and the standard is, but we tend to know at least like what's kind of working, or if it is not working, do we need to change it? And that's kind of where I'm at with that, just off the top of my head.
So Ty and Ozzy, you've both mentioned the importance of wisdom. So I want to run this test by you from the person with the, as far as I know, the highest amount of wisdom in this category. So yeah. I really think that this idea about loyalty is a shared value. I think that you value it. I think Ozzy values it. So I'm curious to you how this plays out and whether you think this is a breaking of loyalty or not. So let's say my wife says, I don't care what you do, but I want Wednesday to be for me. On Wednesday, I don't want you on your phone texting your other partners. I don't want you calling them. I don't want you going on dates with them. Sure, no problem. Situation comes up where one of my other partners needs me. They need me. They say, hey, look, I have to go to the hospital right now. My car is broken down. I need you to come and pick me up and take me to the hospital. And I tell my wife, hey, look, I know Wednesday's your day, but Sarah's broke down on the side of the road. She needs me to take her to the hospital. Am I being disloyal to my wife if I go and pick Sarah up and take her to the hospital on Wednesday?
Right. So gut reaction for that is yes. Yeah. Gut reaction's yes. And like we can probably go down the rabbit hole if you want to do that, but yeah, gut reaction's yes. And then I'll simply say that this is one of the reasons why I would not want to pursue polyamorous relationship, is that I have to balance my responsibilities that I've devoted to other people. And again, I'm just because I said it, one's hard enough for me. Like, good God, one is hard enough.
You do that all the time, though, Ty. You do that all the time. Like you balance. Okay, all right. I'll go ahead.
And yeah, so my answer would be it's dependent upon your wife, because she's the one who set the boundary, and she's the one who's gonna be the one to compromise it or to move it or be steadfast. Your loyalty is just to meet the boundary. If you do not communicate to her, in the instance that in the hypothetical you gave me, you've properly communicated to her that you don't want to break the boundary, but I have to do this because the other partner needs me. So what if she says no and you do it anyway? Then yeah, you're being disloyal. If she says yes and that for only this time, right? Then no, you're not being disloyal. But
okay,
this means there's just more communication involved.
Then this is the second question of the test. Now let's say Sarah is not my partner. She is, however, a childhood friend. My wife says, we're not polyamorous now. My wife says, hey, look, I know that we both have busy schedules with work life and all that, but on Wednesdays, I'd like that just to be for us. It doesn't have to be a date night, but I just want me and you to have our day on Wednesday. And now Sarah, my childhood friend, is broken and says, hey, look, I need somebody to take me to the hospital. I'm bleeding the fuck out. My car's broke down. I need somebody to come get me. Am I being disloyal to my wife now? And if so, still, then it makes sense to me. And I just think that loyalty has extremely crazy standards that I don't think a good and rational and caring person could possibly meet in most situations. And if not, then we have to decide what makes these two things different. And that would be really, because I think that gives me a really good understanding of where you guys don't line up with my ideas about polyamory. Because I think that the loyalty thing is very important.
Or is this to everybody?
Anybody can answer, but I just...
I have something to say real quick.
Yeah, just okay. Can I hear what Drazzy is trying to put down? And I agree with most of it, actually. But with Ty, you balance the priorities with your loved one and other people all the time, right? You two don't exist in a vacuum. You exist within a society, okay, right?
Right.
And in that society, you have your parents, you may have your children, you have your Oh, okay, so someone left. You have your parents, you have children, you have friends, you have your employer, right? Exact same situation a friend Drazzy just gave, but it's your boss. Your boss says, like, once I need you, right? Like we got an important project. I need you. I'm not even gonna fire you if you don't, but I do need
Right.
you. You're gonna have to balance those priorities, right? And you can say. Someone can interpret it as being disloyal, or you could say like, well, this is just the realities of being within society, and that sometimes there are overriding reasons to do these things. That's it. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. And there's a level where you're absolutely right, where we do this every day. I'll put it this way. I'm probably a little bit more rigid than most people when it comes to my loyalties, because while I don't put a lot of stock in a loyalty, when I do, it's usually kind of like all in, because I find reasons to do so, but I have to like explain that. That'd be fun. But basically it's this. She's pretty much my first priority, right? It takes a lot, right? A lot to overload that. And it's not because like, she's just the love of my life, even though she is, but it's also, I intend to raise kids with this person. I intend to be with this person for like 40 fucking years if I can make that work, right? The other side of that is that, my employer, whoever it may be, most of these folks are not people that I'm going to deal with for an extended amount of time, more often than not. And then two, it's just, they just don't rack up to the list, which is, I think, where I probably separate from you in a lot of ways. Is just like, she's there. That is number one for me.
Yeah, but your mom. Sorry, I don't know the relationship you have with your parents. I'm going to assume that you love them. I don't know.
Yeah, go ahead. It's just like, hey, mom's in the hospital, like, but this is supposed to be my day.
Yeah,
are you going to see your mom? Yeah, right. And that's where severity takes over. And you're absolutely right. I'm not acting like this is just a one shot thing. Because I've actually, I've gone through that not too terribly recently. Where it's like, hey, we had plans, been planning it for like 2 weeks. And then you've got a family member like bringing you off the phone because bad shit's happening. I'm not saying you're wrong.
I think that we need to select for partners.
We're going into bonus time right now. We've had a good, decent show here. Anybody that wants to leave can go ahead and excuse themselves at any point they wish to, but I'm enjoying the conversation. Please continue.
I think that we need to select for partners that allow us a reasonable understanding of things. So, like, I agree with what you said with what you said about your partner. That's how I feel about my wife. I love my wife to insane amounts. I talk about how much I love my wife all of the time. However, if my wife is going to have such expectations for me to hold up to some agreement that a reasonable emergency is somehow an invalidation of my commitment and my love to her, then we have a big fucking problem here. That means that there's not just an expectation of me to hold up my end, there is an expectation for me to be negligent to my own emotional needs and the other people that I care about, to the point to where a petty gripe for her is paramount to saving my childhood friend's life. And there has to be some kind of reconciliation. And what I'm saying is that there's not that big of a difference between what's happening there with my childhood friend. If I take the exact same scenario, but also this childhood friend, sometimes I put my dick in her. there's not that big of a difference between these things because sometimes we be fucking and sometimes we cuddle on the couch and watch movies together too. So I think that this loyalty idea is a little bit oddly framed for me because to me loyalty means that I'm always going to do for you what we agreed upon in most situations. But there are
As you said it perfectly. Yeah,
but there
absolutely.
are things that can tip the scales and it goes, I'm sorry, I understand what your needs are, but somebody else has a greater need right now and that has to be met.
Yeah,
So,
you absolutely
yeah.
crushed it. Sorry, go ahead.
That was very well put.
The first part of that I'm 100% on board with, right? Like there's a reasonable expectation. I think, you know, we're on that page. The second page is I think where we really get off key is just like, you know, I just happen to put my dick in her, right? You know.
Best quote.
Right. Fair. Anyway, the issue that I'm getting into, and maybe we can bridge this gap, maybe we can't, is that I'm already devoted to the one person, right? And when I elevate somebody to be competitive with that is allowing me to divide my responsibilities to where, one, I don't feel like it is, for lack of a better term, loyal to her because I already had her as first. Like, I don't need to bring in another person to equal in that. Something about that just really fires off of me as wrong, and I'll probably have to actually think about that in my own time just to dissect why, because I don't have the words for it right now.
I don't think you need to. I think it's okay to be monogamous and to have that. I think it's probably just an emotional feeling that you have, and it's totally justified to have it. And I had the exact same thing happening for me, just with multiple people. And I don't know if you think that like your dick entering somebody has some magical properties. I like my dick. I think it's pretty cool, but I don't think it changes entire social dynamics.
It does for me, and it's not because like it's a magical property on my behalf. It's just for me, it's an incredibly
for you.
Huh?
It changes it for you.
Yeah, it's a very intimate situation. Like I haven't had a lot of really strong attachments in my life, and you know, bringing that in is something that let's just say hits like a brick for me, right? It's something I have to be very, very careful with because, you know, I'm just gonna be very upfront about this. One of the big core issues from my literally childhood development is I have hardcore abandonment issues. And now that I can have like fulfilled long-term relationships, it's not that I can't handle like one or two of those. It's that stacking those to where they want to fight, where I'm allowing them to fight, is something that I do not handle well because I want to please everyone and I want to maintain those relationships because they're so important to me. And I almost self-destruct because of it.
Yeah, I don't think it's for everybody. And I'm not here to say everybody needs to be polyamorous. I'm just saying, let us be. And give us protection.
Yeah, and let us have the basic protections.
Yes.
Of like, hey, I get to visit my loved one in the hospital. Hey, I get to pick my kids up from school. Hey, blah blah, you know, etc.
And know
just
that I'll fight
Jack's
for
in
your
favor
rights
of it,
too.
I'm automatically against it. I'm just
Of course, tuna chip. Go ahead.
So I'm gonna walk you through my experiences that are just like that conflict, Ty, because I've done poly and I'll explain sort of why there's a difference for some people going through that situation and some not. I had two girlfriends at the same time, or I guess I should say a girlfriend and a partner. Regardless, the whole point is the closeness doesn't matter, or all those liminal things are determined anyway. The big thing that I remember though, one starts, the other one joins. They are friends with one another, and then yeah, over time they were competing for my time, but they weren't competing for my time because there was this abundant time, and both of them wanted like 60% of that abundant time, and one of them had to get less. Most of the time, and this is the thing, this is true of relationships between men and women based on attachment and all this shit, as they say all the time. It's because I'm a person that doesn't want to give a lot of my time to anybody. Doesn't matter whether it's just you and me. Doesn't matter if it's and that's like a relationship like conflict of like values, what you want to give, what you want to receive type deal. It's not innate to polyamory. It's probably actually less it's actually probably less common in polyamory per capita when we get into like the ages of like late 20s and 30s, because most of the people that are not married by that period of time, they do bimodally distribute into like a lot of very avoidant men and a lot of very like anxiously attached women. Polyamory creates this situation where that gets to those people that have unhealthy attachment get to find like this new Frankenstein thing that works for their weird amount of energy they're willing to give people and their weird amount of energy that they demand of the people in the market. Currently, what we have is a bunch of men that don't want to give time and a bunch of women that need tons of time, and they're not finding any form of happiness. That's what polyamory is solving. These like weird bad number games of demand and supply.
It's a great point. I gotta go because I owe some time tonight to my wife, and it's getting kind of late.
Sir.
She works in the morning.
And you've been disloyal. You've been disloyal, hanging out with us, giving us your opinions. Yeah, like, and clearly this relationship was doomed from the beginning.
Go ahead and give yourself a shout out. Any closing statements you want to make, by all means, make them. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'm Eldrazi on Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter. You can find me on Friday. I do community submission react streams, and this Friday, if you send in a funny clip, I'll watch it. If you make me laugh, I'm gonna give you a $10 Starbucks card. It's very nice to be here. Prime, it was nice to actually get to have a conversation with you for once. And Tiberius, like we've been trying to have a conversation for like a fucking year, dude. It's nice. I'm glad everybody that disagreed with me did so in a pretty respectful way. I got kind of loud and hyperbolic, but I don't mean anything by it.
You were fine.
It was great.
Fine. And I would love to have you on my show sometime. You were great. You were fantastic.
Hit me up, buddy. I'd love it.
Everybody here is dope. I appreciate everybody that showed up.
Peace out, you guys.
What Tuna Chip just said, I just want. Oh yeah.
All right, guys. I'm out of here. I'm gonna spend time with my wife. Again, though, check out the reaction on Friday. You could win a $10 Starbucks gift card.